The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
Valley, hooey Hollywood, where any office boy or young mechanic can be a panic with just a good-looking pan. And any barmaid can be a star maid if she dances with or without a plan. Hooray for Hollywood, where you're terrific if you're even good, where anyone at all from Shirley Temple to Amy Semple is equally understood. Go out and try your luck.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you, my pretties, are listening to a Radulich Broadcasting premiere podcast, Damn You Hollywood. And I don't like where you are, so you're going to go there. And here's your host. He's on top of Alexis tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, the inimitable, the spectacular, the amazing, the web of Robert Winfree. Yay!
You know, sometimes it's better when you sing.
I am not in a singing mood tonight. I'm also I have had like nasal congestion since the year of the flood, and I don't need to be doing any nasally singing tonight.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, hello everybody out there. This is Damn You Hollywood. I'm Robert Winfree. That's Mark Radulich. We have two guests joining us. We have Alexis Hejna.
Hello, glad to be here. Trying not to freeze to death because we're slowly getting buried alive in the snow up here in Kansas City.
Buried alive, ha, 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 ha. Buried alive.
Okay, there's the nasally singing.
Are you happy now, Robert?
Yeah, see what you started?
Mark?
Sir.
We just had a meeting about this.
Only I may dance. Please continue.
I'm just saying, I don't want you to complain if this runs long when you're the one doing skits and bits.
Well, when I'm the one
got the zeroth rule of the podcasting network. Don't encourage him.
It's true. The other voice you've heard chime in now is that of David Wright. David, welcome. How you doing?
I'm doing good. And just to remind you that no matter where you put me on this screen, I'm from Canada. I'm always on top.
Okay, bub.
Hey,
Hey, Robert.
Certain perspective, geographically accurate.
Yes.
What are we doing tonight, baby?
Well, tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to conduct a post-mortem on Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon Part 1.
Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire, or just
Nice.
Rebel Moon, is a 2023 American space opera film directed by Zack Snyder, who saw movies and decided he should make his own with blackjack and hookers. And
You stole my joke, you bastard.
It was a good joke.
That one stone's kind of been beaten into the ground by this point.
It was still
It's
my
in the
joke.
preview.
From a screenplay he co-wrote in theory in crayon with Kurt Johnstad and Shay Hatten, based on a story Snyder conceived. Its ensemble cast features Sofia Boutella, Djimon Hounsou, Ed Skrein, Michiel Huisman, Doona Bae, Ray Fisher. Ray Fisher was in this? Charlie Hunnam and Anthony Hopkins, you poor bastard.
Hey,
The film,
Anthony Hopkins is the best thing about this movie.
And even
Pretty
he was
much.
criminally wasted.
the film is set in a fictional galaxy ruled by the imperialistic Motherworld, whose military, the Imperium, threatens a farming colony on the moon of Veldt. Kora, a former Imperium soldier, ventures on a quest to recruit warriors from across the galaxy to make a stand against the Imperium before they return to Veldt. Following a limited theatrical release, because maybe it might win an award or two, it was released on Netflix December 22nd, 2023. And, oh my God, shock of all shocks, it generally received negative reviews from critics. Part 2 of this piece of shit is scheduled for release on April 19th, and your friends at Damn You Hollywood will be there to review it for you.
Indeed, we will.
I still love the whole concept of the Imperial mother planet, mothership, whatever the hell it is. Because the minute
Motherworld.
those Motherworld, yeah, because when the characters first are seen walking off off of their ship, all I could hear in my head was Zack Snyder saying, "Oh, you think that the Empire and Star Wars are like Nazis? I'll give you space Nazis."
Yes.
Hey, they were way too subtle in Star Wars. What if we
Yes.
do just Nazis?
Yes, I've seen other directors who use subtlety. They're all cowards.
Zack Snyder, the
Look,
shove your dick in the face film, method of filming things.
As a decent enough fan of Warhammer 40K here, I am going to say death to those who oppose the God King.
I have a
The
question.
Imperium of man is all that holds back the forces of chaos.
I have a question to consider for the panel before we get into the plot review. When did we figure out Zack Snyder was a one-trick pony and that he isn't actually a good director?
Man of Steel.
Sucker Punch. I can predate all of that. Sucker Punch.
David,
I'm not so
Okay,
sure
I
I would
hate to
say he's
say-
a bad director. It's just he's not a good writer. Like
Well,
if
he's
somebody
not
else
that
supplies the
either.
script,
Well,
he
That's
can
you're
do
right,
okay.
because Snyder's best movies were written by other people. I always surprise
Mhm.
people pointing out Dawn of the Dead, the zombie
Mhm.
film he directed. You guys know who wrote that, right? James
Tell us.
Gunn. That's why it's
Oh,
so
it's a-
damn good.
Oh my God, is that why you're like James Gunn is your new Lord and Savior in every podcast we do? You're touting the virtue of James Gunn.
Well, I am, but that's beside the point. James Gunn lives forever. David Zaslav needs to rot in hell.
Moving on. Yeah, I think Zack Snyder's an interesting director. He certainly does a lot with visuals, but you're right, David. I think that, and Alexis, I think that when he's just kind of in charge of the vision of a thing, but he is guided by somebody who can manage the story and maybe help him understand people, we get a better project. Watchmen might have been way too much.
Inheritor. He's the truest inheritor of the legacy of George Lucas. It's a shame he
Yeah,
never
took
made
the
a
words
Star
right
Wars
out of my
movie.
mouth.
Yeah, hang on. I actually got to look something up here. Okay, because among my favorite Zack Snyder films, I did like 300, even though, and obviously that wasn't his story, that was written by Frank Miller, but he did work on the screenplay, so he worked on the adaptation of it.
Mhm. But
So
yeah,
it's a case
he's
of like,
probably
where's the line?
But that's the thing. Like, he's somebody at the table who I don't think is in charge of dialogue or characterization, but he's probably looking at Frank Miller's 300, and he's looking at panels, and he's going, this panel, this is what I want to do here. And other collaborators are with him going, okay, here's how to take that panel that you want to make cool as shit, and here's how you do it with people.
Yeah.
And
Now you see the capes of the Spartans? That is a color called red.
Wait, Mr. Snyder, put down The Dark Knight Rises, okay, or The Dark Knight Returns. We
Yeah.
know you like it. Put the comic book
Yes, it's
down.
the one comic book he's ever read. Robert, go back
Well,
to
that and
you.
heavy metal.
Go back to
Oh
you.
god,
Like,
I hate the Batman heavy metal. Ugh.
No, like actual the French comic book heavy metal.
I
the
thought
rest
you-
of us
oh,
knew
I
what
thought
you
you-
meant, David.
Yeah,
My question,
it's comic books for adults because it's got like blood and tits and sex in it.
Yeah, they
It's
made
That's
a
why I read
mature
movie
entertainment.
off of it in the 80s. It's like starts with a freaking car in space.
my God, I remember how disappointed I was seeing that heavy metal movie, by the way, because I'd seen so many good heavy metal comics with all the things you just said, just the biggest tits and the best like action and gore. And then I saw the cartoon and I was like, well, this isn't what I wanted. Anyway, Sucker Punch for the fourth time.
Mhm.
When you say that that's where we figured out he was kind of a one-trick pony, why don't you expound upon that, Robert Winfree?
That's the
from
first.
your
Well, no,
podcast?
hang. That's the first time. Stop that. That's the first time he got to do everything.
Mhm.
That's the first time it was his story. It was his. He wasn't the only script writer on that, I don't think, but he was one of them. Like, that was his vision, start to finish, and we all kind of went, "Oh boy."
That was the passion project where we realized,
Mhm.
sweet merciful Christ on a cracker, take this man's WGA credits away.
I was gonna say I'm looking at his filmography now. So Dawn of the Dead, that's his directorial debut, and that's when he becomes the toast of the town. He
Little
follows
bit.
it up with 300, and he's got collaborators, so he's reined in. Watchmen, he's just directing. He's also directing, Alan Moore's work, which
Mhm.
it's look. Say what you will about Watchmen, it's an interesting movie. It's too much movie for most people, and it stands apart from most things you see. After that is Legends of the Guardians, which I don't know anything about. And then
That's the owl movie that everybody
yeah,
mentions,
the
but no one's
owl
actually
movie.
seen.
Hang on, I have seen that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, someone actually has.
And then we get to Sucker Punch, and you're right. That's when he directed, wrote, and produced it. And then after that, he's sort of high into the DCEU, where I don't want to spend too much time on this because I think right after this we just need to get into the plot. But I think he kind of, being fair to Flair, I think he kind of looked at an element of some comic books that were out at a very specific time in comic book publishing and went, this is what I like. This is what I think comics are. So this is what the movie should be. And Robert and I have went to the mat 2-on-1 with Gavin Napier, formerly of the Casual Heroes and friend of the show, defending Man of Steel and some of the ideas therein. After that, we talked about this already with Aquaman, and before that, The Flash, that the studio mismanaged a lot of things. So I don't know how much. And then he had personal issues with the Justice League movie that made him have to abandon the project.
During the movie, not with the movie.
Yeah. But my point is, like, there's some degree you could point at him and his vision there, but the rest of it is utter cowardice on the studio's part, mismanagement, a misreading of what most people wanted out of a DC film. But I think ultimately, to kind of round this back, and it goes right into my problems with Rebel Moon, because it's the same shit all over again. He sees a thing, he knows what he likes about it, but because he's the one with the check and he's the one in charge, he gets to make the movie about the shit he likes. And it reminds me of what the Red Letter Media guys say about Star Wars fans, where they don't appreciate the characterization, they don't appreciate any of the development or the themes or anything. They just like the ATSTs and the lightsabers.
You know, not to be the unapologetic Simpsons guy on this podcast, but
I know where this is going.
They nailed the Star Wars fandom right after Phantom Menace came out when they did their parody of it. And the bit is during the crawl, Bart and Lisa are reading it. And like, wait a minute, this is about like Imperium, because it's, political stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And Lisa from the side is just, no, it's actually better this way because this gives us more time for the pew, 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 vroom, vroom, roar. Like, you nailed the Star Wars fandom right there.
It makes me wonder, like, if what Zack Snyder was missing was somebody who understood him and could guide him better. And then maybe we wouldn't have movies like Sucker Punch and Rebel Moon.
You just got to wonder, though, because he took this script to Disney and he said, I got an idea for a Star Wars movie that is completely removed from the Skywalker saga. This is all new characters. They're not going to interact with any of the pre-established characters. What do you think? And Disney said no.
Yeah, not enough.
What do you guys think we would have gotten if Disney had said yes?
Well, no, they said no because there wasn't enough gay
this.
women in the movie.
Well, they would have had Sofia Boutella kept that super short haircut of hers that she has when she's a space Nazi through the whole movie.
She'd be English and she'd be a brunette.
All right.
Yep.
Or I think desperately to cover a English accent, one or the other.
I think that's my last thing I wanted to say about Zack Snyder is this guy is in desperate need of a partner who understands him and can take what he's good at and turn it into something good. Rob, I'll give you the last word on this because I want to see, like, you've kind of heard me say my piece on it, and I just want to get your thoughts, and we'll move on.
It's a shame he doesn't have a good editor and, like you said, a good narrative collaborator.
Mm-hmm.
No one understands the visuals of comic book to film translation like he does.
Mm-hmm.
He nails the aesthetic of comic panels in visual format for a movie better than anybody.
Very true.
And
Alexis, I'm gonna give you I'm gonna lob you a softball here, and I want you to crack it out of the park. Do you think that if they kind of married James Gunn to Zack Snyder, we'd get better movies?
Possibly. Like I said, he definitely needs a better script writer more than anything. So again, someone take away Snyder's WGA credentials. For the love of all that is good and holy and covered in chocolates.
I think
If
it was.
you could
I
pick-
think it was one of the conditions in the strike.
If you could pick a writer, I threw James Gunn at you because you've been jerking him off as of late. But is there a writer that you had on your mind that you were like, oh, this is the guy?
Not 100% certain. Again, we also need a better editor. I could just imagine one with one of those little like cat spritz bottles every time Snyder goes for the slow-mo button. It's like, no.
Stop it.
Yeah. You don't understand why this worked when you used it.
All right, Robert, give me
More
that.
on that later.
Give me that hot plot synopsis.
So, Rebel Moon.
Episode 1, There Is No Hope.
Here's the plot synopsis. You seen Seven Samurai?
Not wrong. So, I'm gonna do the plot synopsis, but let me just start with the critical drinker during his synopsis of this closed it with that clip of old Biff from Back to the Future Part 2 going, there's something very familiar about all this.
I watched that on my way home. I did my homework, Dad.
So we open in a galaxy far away, maybe even far, far away if you're feeling froggy.
No, not far, far. It's either far or far, far, far. That way we
legal-
avoid getting sued.
Oh yeah,
This
okay.
is gonna be
Legally
fucking
distinct from
painful,
far, far
and
away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
said-
we've already at 50 words here.
Where hyperspace travel is conducted via interestingly chosen special effects.
At least would you rather that it was conducted via the spice?
Yes.
Yes, actually.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah. At least it wasn't tardigrades and mushrooms.
We are introduced to a fleet ship from the Imperial Army of the Motherworld, as Anthony Hopkins gives us a brief backstory about the Motherworld, the Imperium of Man. Sorry, that's trademarked to the Warhammer universe, but the rough equivalent. If I call it that, it's only because this is clearly ripped off. And how they're really trying to stamp out rebellion like you do after the royal family was murdered and this general declared himself the new regent, though why he wouldn't call himself king is unknown. And he is setting forth to really solidify the empire. And we then cut away to a farming moon where our heroine is. She's troubled and she lives on the farming moon and she's trying to put her troubled past behind her. And then the empire shows up and is like, hey, we want you produce grain. We want your grain. We want really all of it. We'll pay you triple the market value. And the farmers go, we'd really rather not get involved with the evil empire. And they go, well, that's a shame because we're here.
And we're evil.
Then there's murder, and there's attempted occupation, and there's an attempted rape, and then our heroine fights back and murders people, and the talking robot that's voiced by Anthony Hopkins, transported over from the Transformers universe, I'm fairly sure, where he was just a regular human with a robot. Now he's a talking robot.
As we all will hopefully be one day.
No, that is 9 kinds of hell. They kill this small detachment of the military that was left behind, and Kora's like, well, now we've started a fight. So we got to get a bunch of rice and we got to go look for samurai. I mean, we're going to get a bunch of grain and we're going to go look for warriors.
We're gonna go look for rebels to help defend the moon. Roll credits.
Just a minute. Writing this down.
So Kora, our hero and sidekick, travel to a wretched hive of scum and villainy, if you will, where they get into a brief bar fight, shots are exchanged, and then Charlie Hunnam shows up with a weird Irish accent and goes, I heard what you're looking for and I got a ship, so hey, how about I help you out? And they travel around collecting our group of ne'er-do-wells. We go to a planet with a catbird. And tell me I'm wrong.
Keep going.
Where we meet our former
Guy
prince.
who deals with catbirds.
We meet the Beastmaster. The Beastmaster is here. That's what we got. And we acquire him. And then we travel to our cyberpunk planet where
I was
everything's
going to
got
say the Blade Runner wishes.
the wannabe Blade Runner
Runner.
planet where we meet the Asian ninja with her totally distinct from lightsabers for legal purposes weaponry.
Who
And she
fights off Gina
she kills a
Malone as a
drider.
spider.
She kills a drider. It's half human, half spider. Of course, that's probably trademarked to Wizards of the Coast, so we can't call it that. They meet someone else, or is that when they go? That's when they go get Djimon Hounsou, who is your disgraced general in exile.
Gives the best performance of the movie. I really did believe he didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
You are not wrong.
I'm pretty sure he was just wearing his same costume from Gladiator.
No.
When they
I'm
first
pretty
find him in the dirt, I think it was.
Might have been. I'm pretty sure they convinced him to join this movie by only showing him the Gladiator portions. He went, "Oh yeah, Gladiator 2, I'll be in that."
And then he got better. It's like, oh shit, I should have sobered up before I signed that contract.
And then Ridley Scott goes, "Hey, I'm making Gladiator 2," and he goes, "I'm not going to be fooled again."
You probably actually dodged a bullet with that. Let's be honest.
Right.
Gladiator 2 is the shooting title for the movie.
This now enables them to travel and find our leaders of the rebel group, and it's a brother and sister, and we talk with them, and we get a small group of their forces, and they head. Now everyone's ready, and so the smuggler's like, "Hey, I got one more stop to make because I'm smuggling cargo, you know." So they go to a location, and this whole time,
I owe Jabba money.
They land on the planet and realize, wait, there's no Jabba here. And then we can all hear Admiral Akbar in the back of our heads.
yeah,
I was thinking more, curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal.
Yeah.
Thank you,
that.
actually. Much better line.
We will call it this land. So they land on the planet that is legally distinct from that one from the planet of Endor where they crashed the Death Star, and then Rey sailed out to fight Kylo Ren on the bridge with all the water. Totally not a ripoff. They show up, but again, they've been betrayed by Charlie Hunnam, and the evil admiral shows up, and he gives it, despite us knowing all these characters in theory, he provides the information on the cue cards about all the characters.
That was actually super helpful. It would have been nice if it had organically been part of the script.
You are not wrong, sir.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think he was going. What was the name of the guy who directed the first Suicide Squad movie?
David Ayer.
Yeah, I was like, oh, he's going the David Ayer route of just reading off of their playing cards.
It's like it's the exposition. It has to go somewhere.
It really does.
Anyway.
Good writers can find a way to make it work.
But then he notices the one guy and says, wait, I used to play that role on Game of Thrones before you took over. What are you doing here?
A very brief cameo. Keep going, Robert.
This is the scene of our final action sequence where they stupidly try to make our coward farmer betray everyone. He grows a spine at the last minute. And despite overwhelming numbers and technological advantage, our plucky group of underdogs win the day. The admiral is theoretically, you think he's killed, he's certainly defeated, and with the loss of only one of our band of adventurers, because one of them is clearly replaceable, we lose our rebel leader because his sister can do the same thing and fulfill the same role in the story.
Pretty sure those two just had like a rock, paper, scissors shoe competition on who had to wear the red shirt.
It could be. Or more likely, it was a studio note going, you can't kill a woman, so make it him. So they succeed, and as they're traveling off, Kora's like, well, with the Admiral dead, the entire fleet will go away. Not like there's a chain of command or anything. So why don't you all come back to our village and we'll celebrate anyway. It'll be great. So they all go back and like, it's a shame we don't get to fight. This is a really beautiful place. It would have been a good place to die. Then we cut over. Throughout this, we've gotten Kora's backstory. Again, she was not only a member of the Imperial Army, she was the adopted daughter of one of the major generals. In fact, the one who orchestrated the assassination and became ruler of the Empire. And she's one of the most wanted criminals in all the known universe. All of it. And, but the Empire shows up. They find the body of our Admiral friend, and he's more machine than man. Twisted and evil, if you will. They plug him into the Matrix. He is zapped across to talk with the Regent, where he's like, "Hey, I found your adopted daughter, and she's with this this plucky band of nobodies on this planet." And then the Emperor slowly turns around and menaces him with force lightning through the ice that they're standing on and goes, "So you think it's a good idea that my adopted daughter, this powerful warrior, has teamed up with a military genius and all these other people that hate the Empire? You think this is good news? You think you're making me happy?" And he goes, but there's cameos, and please, David Zaslav, don't cancel my project.
Okay. All right,
And
David.
Hang on. The Empire. So the Emperor goes, "Go crush them and bring me her alive so that I can violently murder her in front of the Galactic Senate before I disband it and then threaten more people with the destruction of the ultimate orbital weapon." And this is our big cliffhanger for part 2, which, as Mark mentioned, will come out in a couple of months.
David, why did you love this movie so much?
Why do you ask me questions to which there is no answer?
Why do you?
Damn you, Hollywood, everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, the title's a bit of a spoiler warning there, guys, but no. I guess I'll start with the positives because it's a short list. One, Anthony Hopkins as the robot was good. It would have been nice if there were more, but unfortunately, he just got to the point where they realized that they couldn't afford him anymore, and he ran off. It's like, and that's time. Thank you, Sir Hopkins. But more than just his performances, like it sort of ties into. I like the idea of like the Imperium or whatever it's called, sort of being a bit more factioned than an empire. Like it's just this thing that's so big that it can't control its entire body.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea of the slain king, who we see was sort of trying to be a bit of a reformer, like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't be like space colonizers going around raping and murdering people and taking all their stuff.
Carrie always needed a paycheck.
Yeah, and then
Bless him,
so,
and he took it.
Yeah, so I like that kind of idea of like there's sort of this almost lost sort of golden age of the Empire, but then asshole general assassinates king and takes over, and now the Empire's a bunch of assholes.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's part of it, yeah.
At least that's part of it, yeah. And having it be like the robots, where we know that we hear that there's many of these robots, but they're quite old. So you sort of see Anthony Hopkins being like a relic of the Empire before it went to shit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of his interactions with the rest of the garrison, who, except for the one young guy, are just cartoonishly evil. So I thought that was an interesting aspect of it, and I kind of would like to see more of that. The idea of a bit more politically dynamic empire in the story, and sort of like see how perhaps like you could have revolution from within the Imperium.
Interesting concept.
Yeah, interesting concept. I mean, I don't think they're going to be doing a whole lot with this because it's going to be Rebel Moon.
Yeah,
but like credit where credit is due.
Okay.
I thought the costuming on the Imperial uniforms was actually pretty nice. Like they did good, except for the Admiral's costume at the end, where he's just wearing like a
Hang
shirt
on.
and tie.
Plus or minus William's Nazi costume from The Crown. How good is it by comparison?
Well. You mean Harry's?
Yeah, Harry's.
Harry's costume. Well, Harry's was not accurate because they didn't wear swastikas in the African theater. So
Prince Philip told us so.
True.
Yes. But yeah, it was just strange, like having your villain wearing a like white shirt and tie. He's like dressed like an aerospace engineer from a 1950s, like
No,
historical picture.
he had long sleeves. They all have short sleeves. If he had short sleeves, I'd agree with you.
Look at
Okay,
Kevin
fair
fucking
enough.
Costner from Hidden Figures. He's like, look, I'm just here to talk about the moon landing, all right? Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
exactly. Except now he's got his like bone club that he uses to beat people with. But I mean, there's a lot of Mr. Wizard stuff I could go over. I'm gonna skip that for everyone's sanity.
Thank you.
But I think my biggest criticism of the film is it is like the ugliest film I have ever seen. Oh boy, I wasn't joking about like Zack Snyder not knowing any colors other than brown and gray.
There's a
We are
line
drenched in
from I think
sepia.
it's Frasier where someone I can't remember which two characters are having it out, but it was the live-in like nurse / maid, and she's just
Daphne.
huh?
Daphne.
Daphne, and she's like screaming at Frasier, like, "Oh, all your precious earth tones and your browns and your beiges," and it's just like, I need Daphne to like run into like every Zack Snyder movie and now do that. Like,
we talk a lot about how Zack Snyder benefits from having a writer, like a pre-existing work to adapt for the script, but I also think for the visuals too, like having like Alan Moore's art to adapt into Watchmen or Frank Miller's art to adapt into 300 really helps like give them some restriction, because I've never seen Sucker Punch a lot of the time just because I look at you watch the trailers like this looks like the ugliest film.
Here's the thing,
it is.
Once you get out of Krypton, which is Frasier's apartment, it's a little like weirdly sexual, but it's Frasier's apartment for sure. Once you get out of that though, and you get into the rest of the movie, he has a fairly good color palette in Man of Steel.
Yeah, he can only mute reality so much.
And I kind of think that's the
problem. He figured out how to do that in Batman v Superman. There's a reason everyone said, don't watch this movie in 3D.
Yeah.
Or in the dark.
Yeah. And like the speed ramping, like it works great if you have like a melee combat situation where you can speed things up to show how frantic the action is and slow things down when something really cool happens. Like that's great. If there's just people shooting at each other from long range on the battlefield, it has absolutely no benefit whatsoever. It's just, okay, the lasers are moving slower now. Like when guy jumps onto the griffin thing off of the rock cliff and he like slows it down mid jump, like, okay, he was jumping onto the griffin thing. He is still jumping onto the griffin thing. After this, he'll land on the griffin thing. Like this, there's nothing cool about this. You've just taken the existing knowledge and slowed it down. Like there's a scene in the last battle, like when the brother rebel leader is like jumps up onto a flight of stairs. It's like, is he just standing there or has they slowed down the camera? I'm not sure.
Oh man, that scene is hilarious because if you watch the scene where they just focus on his feet running, it's very clearly a poor stunt double walking gingerly up this narrow ramp. That they're and then when they cut to him just like shoulders up, he's clearly trying to give the impression of sprinting.
Yeah.
You guys know who played that rebel leader brother, right? That was the same actor who played Cyclops in Justice League.
Right.
Oh, Ray Fisher.
Yeah. Well, glad he got paid.
You mean Cyborg then, not Cyclops.
Did I say Cyclops?
She said,
sorry, I meant Cyborg. Sorry.
James Marsden? He's not in this movie.
No, sorry, wrong sign name, slip of the tongue.
You're fine. No.
Like even some of the CG in this film, like it looks like a made-for-TV movie. Like if they, I can't believe
the tentacles,
like $150 million. Holy crap! Like this looks horrible for that budget. I hope Anthony Hopkins took most of the money and ran. That's the only.
Like in money bags though, like it was like kept aside to do stuff, and he just like grabs it and went yay and like ran off set.
Yeah, but
great. Anthony Hopkins is Scrooge McDuck. Damn, that's actually a fun casting. Why has that never been a thing?
I would watch that.
Yeah, I'd watch that movie.
Movie with Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah, like I think Star Wars works in a way because it knows to keep the story simple. Like George Lucas went to the costume designer and said, like, look, I'm going to give you a very difficult job. You have to design these uniforms to make them look like fascists, but also not make them look like fascists.
Let me. I was thinking about this on the way home. I'm going to take this moment to just share this because it's literally the only thing I have to say about the movie. Yeah,
I have one more point after this. So
yeah. I'm gonna throw it back to you. But Chris Sheehan once famously said on this podcast, it's all about the moments. He was referring to the WWE, but I think about like Star Wars, and whether you love it or you hate it or you have no passion about it, you acknowledge it exists. What frustrates me as a fan, and why I watch Rebel Moon and I'm just bored and frustrated and want to talk about anything else, is because I do think about Star Wars and I think about like you have Luke, who is so excited and so happy and so energized to save this beautiful princess. He runs into the cell. He's like, I'm here. I'm the hero. I am living my moment. And there's bitchy Princess Leia going, aren't you a little short to be a stormtrooper? And he's like, wait, what? He like, takes off his helmet. And then it's like he doubles down. He's like, no, I'm Luke Skywalker and I'm here to save you. And she's like,
yeah, I'm here with Ben Kenobi. Ben Kenobi?
It's like, oh, now I got your attention.
Yeah. Well, not only that, it's just like, oh, like I'm here with Ben Kenobi, you bitch. And it's like, oh, fine, yeah, him I know. Okay, go. And then like they're fighting their way out of this thing, and they're cornered, and they're being shot at from all sides. And she's looking around. She's got this asshole over here, this asshole over here. She's like,
I'm surrounded by assholes.
What the hell?
Keep firing, assholes.
Very much. And then she's just like, fuck it, and she grabs a gun and shoots a hole in the wall. She's like, everybody jump in the fucking hole. And Han Solo's like, who let her in charge? Why? Like, I'm a young man with a dog and a spaceship. Why am I listening to her? And Duke, she's pretty. Go. And so he throws the dog in there, throws the farm boy. He jumps in, yells, does the Wilhelm scream. And the first words out of Han Solo's mouth when they get down there, what an interesting smell you've discovered. And I say all that to say, like, yes, lightsabers, yes, all of that, but those are the magic moments in Star Wars. Those human interactions of people acting like people. Despite the fact there are no braziers in space, you pervert George Lucas, these were still people acting like people. Whether they lived in the future, they lived in space, they lived wherever, they were still interacting like people. And that's the thing that makes Star Wars memorable, is you have these very identifiable, very relatable people doing hero stuff in a world besieged by evil, which we can all relate to. There's been evil throughout the 20th century. There were actual Nazis. There was actual, genocides. And I look at like something like Rebel Moon, and it completely misses the point of all of that. This is a movie that there are no people in this movie. There are character types. It's like somebody.
Say, so much of this movie feels like a D&D group. But it's
you fucking took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, it's like so this is our first meeting, so we're going to go around the table and you explain your character and a quick thing on their backstory and why they're here.
Yeah, this looks like it's like a bad D&D campaign. It's like here we have a ranger, we have a barbarian, we have a wizard, we have a kender, and we have whatever.
Kender's a race, not a class.
Oh, fuck you. We have a thief.
Thief's
and
a
it's like,
rogue
okay,
subtype.
well,
Try again.
Huh?
Thief's a rogue subtype. Try again.
Moving on.
My point is, like,
it's like I'm sorry. Come on, man. You really want to get D&D specific? Go get Ronnie.
No, bad girl. Right off this podcast. My point, going back to David and the point that he was starting to point that, and I kind of took the ball and ran the rest of the 50 yards with, is how bereft of humanity this movie really is.
Mm-hmm.
This is somebody's tabletop role-playing game combined with this most simplistic interpretation of stuff he saw that he likes, and they gave him a $200 million check and said, have at it. And it's like, I don't understand how people work. I don't really understand story. I don't understand moments. I just understand machines and action and stuff. And it all has to be beige. Like, ugh.
Oh, I got proof about the color. I mentioned this earlier. Hang on a second. I really want to bring this in. Where the hell? There it is. Rebel 21 launched a Rebel Moon clothing line. Look at this stuff. No, seriously, just look at this stuff.
Yeah.
For those of you on the audio section, if it is not white or tan, it is black.
There's like a few in sort of a semi-military green. What the hell is that? That's just a weird ass looking dress.
That was a poor model choice for that dress too.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I know.
I don't want to body shame. I'm not sure what they're going for here.
No, right. It's not body shaming. It's a poor model choice for that item of clothing. That's
yeah.
All right,
yeah, I mean, a handful of these items literally look like they were drugged through that field that the main character is plowing.
Honestly, it looks like it was laundry day, and they grabbed what was maybe clean from the garage and threw it on to go do the rest of your laundry. Yeah. Kill it, Alexa, so that David can finish his point.
Got it.
Yeah, so coming soon to a discount clearance rack near you.
Not wrong.
Oh,
you had one last point.
Are we good? Okay, yes. Yeah, so the simplicity that George Lucas built the universe of, like keeping things very general, Empire, rebels, simple, smugglers.
Right.
that allows the rest of the story to breathe, and we don't get sort of bogged down into convoluted geopolitics and all that stuff, which if you're not good at writing them, can really drag your story down. But and as much as I think you're all going to talk about the story, like just even the cool stuff is not cool in this movie.
Right.
Like the ships suck. None of them are interesting. None of them are cool.
If the ship nerd on this show is like, it sucks, then he's really missed the point.
Yeah. But like, one of the things that draws people towards like the genre of fiction, be it fantasy or sci-fi, is these are worlds that you want to get lost in.
Yeah.
And this is a world that I want to run away from. Like, it sucks. There's nothing interesting. I don't want to be part of the rebel moon fighting against the Imperium, or even part of the Imperium. Like even the interior of the Imperium ships sucks. Like look at the Imperial ships in Star Wars. They're all nice and clean and spick and span and angular and shiny. Like these look like super high tech
on the walls. Yeah.
Like they look like super high tech, expensive ships from a galactic empire with tons of resources and power. Whereas you look at the Millennium Falcon and it's this lovable dump truck. Where it's got all this character. Like it's still a cool ship, but like this is something that is being held together by chicken wire and duct tape. Yeah, it's got personality and you love it, and it's still a cool ship. Like and it makes you cheer for it. Whereas like nobody's gonna give a shit about not Han Solo's, not Millennium Falcon from this.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can't even remember any of these characters' names. Like I said, I only remembered Kora. I only knew Kora because Robert said her name. I do not remember a single other name of any of these characters.
Yeah.
No one left an impression.
Yeah, it's not cool, it's not interesting, and it's not pleasant to look at, and that's gonna turn people off. Like you can get some forgiveness for like, okay, the story's not the greatest, but man, is it cool to look at.
Right. And
James Cameron made the last half of his career on that.
Yeah, I mean, look, we have beat the living shit out of Avatar, but the one thing I kept saying about that is still a place people want to go to. People want to be those things. They want to live in that world. Alexis, tell me how all the ways you love this movie. Love you too, babe.
The one time where shows where you piss from actually applies in a film review.
This movie was painful to sit through. I feel like, not to mention, I feel like I owe the editors for Aquaman an apology.
No, you don't.
Because I trashed them on our last review where we discussed how bad it was. Like, but this editor, this was ungodly, unforgivable. It was. I give credit to the Aquaman editors because it's clear they had to salvage as much as they could after they tried to chop Amber Heard out as much as they could. This movie is garbage, and I don't know why they made it. It's like you could have at least tried. You could have tried to make it look a little better.
We're gonna have to talk about why the movie looks the way it does in a minute or two, because there's a pathetic story behind it. Truly pathetic.
And yeah, told you guys this before. I counted the slow-mo shots.
Ooh, give us the total. Give us the total.
Okay, now
but
for the record,
speed up and slow down as you read them off.
I'm not that evil. I wanted to find. Okay,
It's not evil. It's meta.
I wanted to find shot is between a cut. So if there was a scene where it was slow down, then they sped up, then they slow down again, I counted it as one shot.
Mm-hmm.
So
this is a conservative estimate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I needed to have like a set definition. 69.
Nice.
69 individual slow-mo shots in this piece of shit movie.
That seems a bit excessive.
You think?
I wouldn't be surprised if it was planned.
How many slow-mo cuts do you want, Zach? 69?
Yeah, we always got it. Every movie I do 69 slow-mo shots. It's like an in-joke.
Sorry, David, but I'm going to be using that subtlety is for cowards line in a future review.
I
find a way to incorporate that.
I can't take credit for that. That's Garth Marenghi from Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, which you should definitely look up on YouTube.
Yeah.
What else, Alexis?
Well, like I said earlier, yeah, this very much so reminded me of a bad D&D campaign. That's why I jumped out and said that. I was just like, okay, can we just have a moment where we're not just, it's literally, it's literally, here's a character. Here's the character doing something kind of cool. Okay, let's get on the ship. Lather, rinse, repeat. The dialogue is abysmal. Even the first scene where they're talking to Kora and there's like, this other guy fancies you, you know, and he would be a good husband. And I think that guy's got like 3 lines in the whole movie. It's like, why are you talking about this guy who's in love with her if he's not even a
Can I draw a
folk-
comparison?
I was almost happy when the Imperium ship showed up because it's like, oh, finally we're not talking about boning anymore.
Could
It's
you
like,
imagine?
oh, good, the plot's finally kicking in.
Can you imagine like Zack Snyder's approach to the scene on Tatooine in A New Hope, where you have this guy, all he wants to do is leave the farm. He desperately wants to go away and, you know, join the military, join the rebellion, join something, get the fuck off this desert planet. And it's sundown, and he's staring into the middle distance, and
Actually,
John
sun's
Williams
down,
is
but-
swelling in the background. Sun's down, yes. You know, and there's not a dialogue in this. There's not a bit of dialogue in that scene, but you know everything you need to know about Luke Skywalker from just him standing 1 foot on the rock like Captain Morgan and looking into the middle distance. If this had been Zack Snyder, someone would have ran into the scene and be like, "Don't you want to leave home?" You know, and he would be like, "Yes."
And then
I definitely-"
coupled with a slow-mo shot of him picking mushrooms off the moisture vaporators.
Yeah, like I again, I whether you love or you hate George Lucas's original Star Wars movie, there is a lot in that movie that is now lost to time. It's like people don't really seem to know. You know,
Hang on, you apply the credit to the wrong person there.
okay.
It is. Hang on, just because we need to give credit where it's due to why Star Wars works.
Go.
George Lucas's wife.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
that's fine. My point is, the stuff we get from Star Wars in terms of film craft seems to be lost on this generation of filmmakers.
That's
Like I
true.
said, this feels like just rattling off a list of attributes and backstories. Robert didn't even mention there's this big thing about the Emperor's daughter, the princess, who
Mhm.
apparently had the ability to give life and looked like something that Kathleen Kennedy sneezed out. And
she's not a Force user. She uses not the Force.
yeah, and they keep going back to her, and even that,
will-
it's just like,
We will get to the girl.
and
We will get to the girl's the key to everything in the next one.
yeah, again, this doesn't feel like a movie. It feels like placeholder, setting up the chessboard. It feels like setting up a fucking chessboard. It's like, okay, we don't care. Start playing chess.
Anything else about this movie you want to talk about?
Not looking forward to this. I can't call it a sequel. Part 2.
Robert, why does this movie look like shit?
I wish I knew.
No, you said there was a story, fucker.
Oh, hang on. Let me get my complaints out of the way. Then I'm going to talk about that business. So, I can remember one other character's name, by the way. Charlie Hunnam plays a character who goes by Kai. That's it. That's all I got. That's all I got. I put it in our group chat immediately after I got done with this. This is the worst possible mashup of 3 things that maybe should go together better. I put Star Wars actually at the bottom of the 3 things that influenced this, believe it or not. This reads much more to me like Warhammer 40K and 7 Samurai.
Mm-hmm.
And the Star Wars stuff is just, I'm not saying it's not there. I'm saying Star Wars is also so painfully generic that you can find it anywhere.
It's also fair.
But you should be able to look at it and say, yeah, maybe it's Star Wars influence without seeing that it's clearly something from wish.com.
Here's an example of what you're talking about. The Fifth Element was very much compared to Star Wars. Looks nothing like Star Wars, but it had a Star Wars feel to it, and there was clearly Star Wars influence on the Fifth Element. But if you put them side by side, they are not the same movie.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Star Wars was influenced by Flash Gordon, The Hidden Fortress, The Hero with a Thousand Faces. Yet it managed to take all those things that George Lucas was into, and he made something greater than the sum of its parts through combining them. And things since Star Wars have done the same. Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
You know, what if Star Wars but Mormonism?
I mean, with the Space
moderately
Ninja
offended by
Lady
that.
should have. I mean, the Space Lady. I would say the Space Ninja Lady
true.
should have been able to pull out a weapon that we all thought, oh, that's kind of cool, without thinking, knock off lightsaber.
Yeah.
I was thinking the first Guardians of the
Really
Galaxy movie.
bad interpretation. Hang on, no, I gotta address this.
Yeah. Let's get this out of the way.
That's a really, really bad faith interpretation of LDS theology, more informed by the bullshit cartoons that were anti-Mormon that came out around the time than anything actually in our religion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that it's an accurate depiction of religion, but that there was an influence there.
I was starting to say the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. I
don't even
remember my
think
initial
that's true,
reaction to that
but-
when I walked out of that. I was like, "Huh, this is the most Star Wars thing I've seen since Star Wars." So yes, you can have, obviously there's, Star Wars has influenced the last like 40 years of fucking filmmaking, but not everything is an exact copy like this tried to be. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, so that's a problem. There's a bunch of really stupid technical flaws. There's several shots on the first planet where it's almost fisheye. Like everything on the perimeter is out of focus. And I don't know why. It's not there for any reason. The scene with when like the other scene where Charlie Hunnam gets to deliver dialogue, like right before he betrays them. When he does the, I used to have honor bit.
The scene with him and Kora and the
Yeah.
on the ship.
It looks like you're watching TV at an off angle. Like there's something
Yeah,
off about the perspective there where it looks like you're looking at a flat surface, but not straight on like this.
Can I interject something there? I think the problem here is that with traditional studio systems and traditional studio filmmaking, there were executives that wouldn't let you put trash out knowingly because it was a reflection on the studio, and the studio's name was Tiffany. They were Warner Brothers used to mean something. Universal still does mean something. Disney used to mean something, and it was we're not going to let you
something.
we're not going to let you put trash out that's going to tarnish the good goddamn name of this fucking studio. Netflix isn't a studio; it's a distributor. But this distributor is now paying gobs and gobs of money and going, as long as you can sit butts in seats on our app, we don't care what garbage you put out. There's nothing to protect. Zack Snyder's home movies of him jerking off in the closet, as long as there's 12 hours of it that you can watch, they're happy. Netflix is perfectly happy with it. That doesn't tarnish the name of Netflix. Netflix's name is Sit and Watch Wally Universe. You fat fucks. Just sit and watch Netflix for hours on end. That's all we care about. Netflix. So why is it? Because they gave him the money. There's no oversight, and no one gave a shit. And it was just like, how fast do we need this in the can?
Well, even under those circumstances, there's a bunch of technical errors that don't
Even
make sense.
Even the competent filmmaker shouldn't have made.
Yes.
Well, I think I just explained not as competent as we're giving him credit for.
Yeah, still, again, they're just poor. There's a real lack of understanding around what makes Seven Samurai work. Because again, like Warhammer 40K is a setting, Star Wars is a loose aesthetic style. The story in here is Seven Samurai. It is our village is under assault. We need to go gather the forces to try and fight off the bandits. It's the Imperium instead of a group of raiders, and it's wheat instead of rice and whatever. But like that's set dressing.
We don't even know why at least half of these guys are interested in fighting. They literally see them do something cool and it's like, okay, now we're all on the show. I mean, the dude who jumps and tames the griffin kind of thing.
That scene was interminable.
I know, but it's like, I missed. Did we find out any reason or any characteristic?
He's the former prince of his planet, and the Imperium slaughtered his people.
I really thought you were making a joke there. Like he's his former cousin's. He was his uncle's
you
brother's
you
former
missed
roommate.
it, Mark, because you could not pay attention to this movie or slept through the vast majority of it. You missed this.
Oh,
Yeah.
was that what they said when they were about to paralyze all of them?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So no, there's that. But what if you rewatch Seven Samurai, and please do, it's a brilliant film. What makes that movie work is the character interactions. It's how these, even if they're broad characters, and they are, most of those characters are not. It's not deep character study, which is fine. You don't need. You don't need Hamlet here.
Let me throw out another example, a more modern example. The latest remake of The Magnificent Seven. We said a very similar thing about
It was the
that
only
movie.
good. Well, given that Magnificent Seven is just Seven Samurai, but yeah, like the only really good parts of the Denzel Washington led version of Seven Samurai, it's how those characters interact, and bless David Ayer for being good at that.
I was gonna say not the most memorable movie, but I
Yeah,
still enjoyed it.
Going back to our review of it, that was the thing that we pointed at was the dialogue and character interaction is what makes that movie.
Yeah, million percent. So the fact that this movie, aping Seven Samurai, chose to have zero character interaction,
Bold choice.
it's a choice, yeah. Terrible decision. So here's the biggest. You asked, like, why is this movie like this? So let's talk about, Mark. I'm going to forbid you from saying lizard brain in answer to my question here, to the scenario I pose. For one reason and one reason only. Even lizard brain is not this stupid.
Okay.
Even lizard brain should not be this dumb.
All
right?
right. Bump it to me, Daddy. Let me see if I can hit it.
So, you're Netflix. You hand Zack Snyder a check. It's a big check. You say, make your movie. Zack Snyder goes, it's nice to be in a creatively free place where I can create my vision from start to finish. And Zack Snyder hands them a movie that is about an hour longer than the cut we got and is gritty and bloody and R-rated. And Netflix goes, you know what Zack Snyder fans like? You know what brought us to this point? Was the years of wanting the Snyder cut. So how about we try to recreate that by cutting this up and letting Zack Snyder we'll try and recreate artificially this spontaneous movement by fans. And maybe they'll ask us to release the Snyder cut of Rebel Moon, and we can get them to watch this again and spend more time on our app.
I hate the Snyder fans. I hate them so much.
So
I don't know who I hate more, the Snyder fans or the Snyder bots. Yeah, Army of the Dead was the #1 movie of that year. Bite me.
No. I'm fine with that. If you want to play stupid games like that with your award show, you're going to win stupid prizes.
So what's your question, sir?
No. It's not a question. Like, this is a statement of fact. And my question to you is, how did we get here? Because even lizard brain is not this dumb. Lizard brain is not dumb enough.
It's not a lizard brain thing. It's a reflection of the marketplace. The marketplace, the master it serves is streaming. What streaming wants you to do is sit and watch the app for as many hours as they can. So if they can milk the same product out of the same guy for multiple hours, this is why everything got made into a show in the last couple of years. And Netflix went to the drop everything at once model. And everybody else is still bumblefucking it because they don't know which to do. They don't know if bringing you back week after week, Disney, sometimes Amazon, is a better model than drop 12 hours of content and hope you'll watch the whole fucking thing straight through. Sometimes
Amazon's
Disney,
the one that's
Amazon.
50-50.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they do one, sometimes they do the other.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, the market reacts This is one of those things that is actually platform dependent.
Mm-hmm.
People who watch Disney Plus regularly actually prefer weekly programming.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, that's the answer, though.
Binging.
When look, let me tell you what the net effect of the Justice League Snyder Cut was. There was interest in that movie. Was very special and it was very different. Not necessarily saying it was good, saying it was special and different due to all the circumstances surrounding what happened to Justice League and specifically Zack Snyder and his poor daughter. Yeah. That said, the end result was Max had to trip over its own dick to try to get content on this app in the middle / post-COVID era. So you have this confluence of different things happening at the same time. You have not movies in movie theaters, right? Places are still locked down. Everyone's tripping to get all the content they can onto these streaming services that are not ready for it.
You can't film anything new.
You can't film anything new.
Set restrictions, yeah.
Yeah, without an enormous amount of restrictions. And they have this half movie in the can that if they give Zack Snyder a little bit of money, they'll
Well, in
They'll
fairness,
kind of do the
he
Vince
crowdfunded
McMahon
that.
placating the fans, getting cash with the fans thing, where like you kind of think Vince McMahon's listening to you, but not really. So they're like, we'll give him money, we'll let him do his 4-hour cut of Justice League, that we'll pretend like we like the fans, and the fans are for Warner Brothers. But most importantly, and this is the point, these idiots will sit and watch this thing for 4 hours straight. And you can't get anyone to sit on Max for 4 fucking hours straight. So
unless they're binging The Sopranos, which also guilty of.
Yeah. But that's the thing, is everyone sort of looks at that. The lack of critical thinking skills in general in our society is poor. So imagine what people are like in positions of power with no critical thinking skills, but they saw lots of people watch the Snyder cut of Justice League and went, do that. So you don't want me to say it's lizard brain, but it's kind of lizard brain, because nobody spends the kind of time and energy that us nerds do deconstructing moments like that and coming up with answers. They just saw people en masse watching an app for 4 hours and going, more of that, please. So we go back to this and we go, hey, you're the guy that did the 4-hour Justice League movie. You seem to be able to be really good at making 4-hour content. Do that multiple times.
No, here's my problem with that. Like, if this had just been like a 3.5-hour gritty, this movie desperately wants to be bloody.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. Like, they're treating it like a theatrical release. Like, let's release the safe version, and then we'll release the director's cut, and people will watch 8 hours of this garbage, not 3 hours of this garbage.
Yeah, and I'm just telling you, and this is the reason I say, like, there's stuff that I accept Lizard Brain is responsible for. I do.
Okay.
And there's stuff that I go, even Lizard Brain should not be this dumb.
Okay. We're at an hour.
Lizard Brain does not get you to cut off your nose to spite your face.
I don't know how many lizards you know, but it most certainly does.
Does Lizard Brain constantly do #NotMySuperman?
Yes.
Or is
Lizard Brain is, I will cut off my arm to get out of this trap.
Okay. Start to take me home, Daddy-O.
Yeah, this is not much of an interesting movie. There's a lot of interesting potential here, which is unfortunate that we got the end product that we did. Dear Netflix, if part of your pitch to get people to make content for you is we will give you essentially unrestricted creative freedom, don't then cut it down, change the rating, and desperately try to recreate a spontaneous phenomena. This is a terrible idea. You have shot yourself in the foot. You've made yourself less attractive.
At Netflix's feet. We're there in a world where we accidentally got Barbenheimer and people tripped over their own dick to make Saw Patrol happen.
And it didn't. And you'd think we'd learn.
No, we don't learn. What is wrong with you?
Everybody's racing to second place.
Humanity, we never learn.
It's like, of course we never learn. You know what studios took the lesson about Barbie? They're making a Mr. Potato Head movie. That's the lesson they learned.
Robert's this close from quitting the show because of shit like that. Uno the movie.
Hey, at least you're not making them do the Winnie the Pooh with Tigger 2 movie that's coming out.
Actually, I hope that the Uno movie does really well, just because I want to know what they're going to call the sequel.
Damn it. All right. Anything else, Robert? Because if not, we're going to move on.
No, I imagine we'll wind up talking a bit more about this when we do part 2, because this is nothing but a giant prologue.
All right, folks. We're going to do the show a little out of order tonight. Normally, we would do the money, and then we would do the Rotten Tomatoes bit. But one, David does not want to be here all night while we beat the living shit out of the movie studios for the billionth time. Number 2, we're saving the back half of the show-ish for our year in review and our look at the studios and all of that. And it's kind of its own, like, different segment. So we're going to skip right ahead to the critical review.
Are you ready? No! I said, Are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Some
Ouch.
say the good boys at Damn You Hollywood are a little negative. Some say the
We've been
good-looking
accused of that.
boys over at Damn You Hollywood, they're a bit too hard on the beaver.
None of us have been accused of being good looking.
That's not true. I get called handsome by girls that want to date me all the time. However, occasionally, we align with the stars in the universe, and we all say it stinks. Ooh, doggy. 23% on the tomato meter, big fat splat, and the audience even said, fuck this shit.
At 59. But
59,
let's have some
baby.
fun.
Yeah, let's take a look.
So, at 23% and 162 reviews, when we go to top critics, boy,
Goes down to 8.
Well, I know which 3 we're reading.
Single digits. For
Ouch.
funsies, do the audience real fast if you can.
I'm going to. So yes, it goes from 23 to 8% for those of you on audio. So that's fun. Almost not a single critic here. And we have 59% audience. It's not letting me switch.
Okay. There's a decent. No, it's okay. There's a decent chance there was an issue there with this one.
Okay. Critical consensus. Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire proves Zack Snyder hasn't lost his visual flair, but eye candy isn't enough to offset a storyline made up of various sci-fi fantasy tropes.
Wasn't that our
Avatar would
review
disagree
for
with
both
your
Avatar?
conclusion.
I was just going
And-
to say, isn't that our review for both Avatar movies?
Yes.
And the AI also writes, even if Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire borrows heavily from other sci-fi stories, it's still entertaining and often visually dazzling. Bad
No,
AI.
it's not.
Bad AI.
That just squeaked across the finish line.
All right. Let's see here. Let's read some of our friends, seeing as nobody fucking liked this thing. Except for
Oh,
Cameron
I'm
West.
sure. Who was the guy that got roasted on the Drinkers podcast the other day that we've quoted on it? Stuckman.
Oh, Chris Stuckman took a soap and a sock from the Critical Drinkers.
Well, they were just on the regular podcast. They were going through something, and somebody brought up he's got it's not quite a book, but it's like the 50 movies for film buffs to see before they die,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's all like Pirates of the Caribbean or Return of the King. It's like, boy, real dug in there for some hidden gems there, huh, buddy?
I was going to say those are good movies, but
Yeah.
That's
right,
not the purpose of those kinds of publications.
Right. Daniel Resser of Willamette Week. A simple but entertaining sci-fi yarn that wears its influences on its sleeve. I mean, if by wear it on its sleeve you mean like covered in tattoos like Henry Rollins, sure.
I was going to say that's not wearing on your sleeve. That's painting your face like an obsessed NFL fan.
A little bit.
Oh, read Ruben Peralta Regard.
Okay. Ruben Peralta Regard of Cocolecas. Rebel Moon becomes boring after long periods.
For those of you listening, this is a fresh review.
That's true.
And it also says full review in Spanish, so it's entirely possible they just, again, the AI picked the wrong sample.
Oh, we haven't heard from Robert's main squeeze, his hot banana, the future former Mrs. Robert Winfree, Carla Renata of the Curvy Film
But you
Critic.
were saying banana a lot tonight, man. Are you just in desperate need for potassium or what?
I have some potassium I'm going to give you if you don't fucking shut up. Carvy Renata, the Curvy Film Critic. Well, I enjoyed, of course you did, Renata, you sweet thing. Well, I enjoyed having a woman lead the charge in a franchise of film usually reserved for male characters. It's time out. Come on, man. It's the year of our Lord 2024. We had 3 fucking Star Wars movies led by Daisy motherfucking Ridley.
Oh, Mark, didn't you hear that the director of the new Star Wars Ray trilogy is out
Oh,
there
let's
going,
not go there.
it's so not. It's gonna be nice to have a woman drive the Star Wars universe, like we didn't already have a trilogy, like Princess Leia wasn't a thing, and like Padme wasn't a thing. You stupid cow.
The other-
Or Marsha Lucas.
No kidding. Again, the actual savior of Star Wars was George Lucas's first wife, who looked at this thing in the editing and went, we can't actually have the finale be our rebels launch a surprise attack on the Death Star. The Death Star has to show up and menace them or they look like terrorists. And desperately re-edit it to make it work.
I'm just going to say that, like, right now, they're working on the Barbie 2 movie, and they're all working on Barbie 2. And I'm pretty much certain that at no point in past or future of this production has anyone said, we need to retool this to make it appeal more to a male audience.
No, not a single one. So what I keep trying to say is I've watched the Midnight's
Never
Edge
mind
video
that
on
Ken
it.
is the most enduring character from the first Barbie movie.
I watched the Midnight's Edge video on this broad who kept saying she was an activist. Because I'll tell you what Star Wars really needs right now are more activist writers and directors.
Keep burning money. Kathleen Kennedy is happy to burn money that's not hers.
Did you see the other headline about the new Alien movie that's focusing because I think the Drinker made fun of this on X, where instead of he shows a picture of the original Alien cast. It's like these are middle-aged people who have lived, as opposed to young whippersnappers who have no life experience that nobody identifies with. Like, ugh. Anyway,
dude, the fact that Ridley Scott deliberately, he's talked about this in the casting of the first Alien movie. It was like, this is a blue collar, this is the space equivalent of being a truck driver.
Right.
Mhm.
Or
Space Truckers. But not to be confused with the movie Space Truckers.
Also
the
true.
song.
And so I want people that look like they've lived life. So
Right.
find actors, and here's John Hurt and Tom Skerritt and these people that look like they've lived. And
Yeah, people who look like when they wake up and say we have to look at a disturbance, it sounds like, well, this is probably something we've done at least a bajillion times. So why are we worried?
So anyway, Robert's wife continues to say,
I'm going to be rooting for the xenomorph in that Alien movie, just saying.
Speaking of rooting for the xenomorph, Carla Renata, having not had enough women in film, the overall pacing is uneven, making this film mature in some spots. Aw, there's too much film for Carla. Robert,
Names.
what are you going to do about her, Robert?
I'm doing nothing about her. She is in no way my responsibility, despite your attempts to force marry us together.
Harry Guerin of RTE Ireland. There's loads of melodrama here, and Rebel Moon takes itself very seriously, but it will be no hardship for anyone with a thing for sci-fi action.
I think everybody here disagree.
It's still a chore.
Yeah, guess what? Just because you have a movie go, what was it? Pew pew, zoom zoom, roar.
Yeah.
We're not just going to suddenly go, yay!
My new favorite guy to read, Alan Olinger of Adam Does Movies of YouTube. There isn't enough slow motion in the world to make up for the copy-paste narrative, lame characters, awful pacing, and miserable final act. What a waste of time.
No argument here.
Let's see.
Look, man, the only other thing I might want to say craft-wise is this movie does not deserve the performance that Anthony Hopkins gives, even if it's brief.
Yeah, to his credit, he did not phone that in.
Nope.
I mean, maybe he literally phoned it in, but
Probably
he's one of those guys who might have like a recording studio in his house.
The future ex-Mr. Alexis Hejna, Jeremy Johns of JeremyJohns.com. There is intriguing lore in this universe, in the canvas of this galaxy. It's just not delivered to you in a way that feels organic.
That's accurate.
No, say nothing wrong. No argument there.
A few more of these.
Again,
and then,
any of us familiar with the lore of Warhammer 40K already know where his lore is going.
Oh, shit. Read Roger Moore's review there. That's
I'm about
funny.
to. Robert's dad, Roger Moore, Movie Nation. It's time to accept that those release the Snyder Cut t-shirts aren't aging well. Wah, 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 wah. Let's see. Anybody else here that's fun? Where are all the fun people? DR Medlin.
away from this
What? I didn't hear you.
The fun people are not reviewing this movie.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. It's like where are the fun people? Like they knew better and they stayed away.
They knew we were about to come. They'd have to suffer through this movie. Then we'd come out of the woodwork afterwards and just hit them with bags full of doorknobs.
Third attempt. DR Medlin of the Mary Sue, Robert Winfree of the Screaming Boy podcast. Rebel Moon puts the Snyder spin on a space epic and delivers a wild ride. from start to finish. It's not Shakespeare,
Clearly.
but it sure is fun.
Yeah,
Supreme
this is
arbiter
the
of
ride.
fun, the Mary
like-
Sue.
It's like, no, this is the ride. And stop. Going and stop. Going and stop. It's like, I'm sorry. So apparently, unless she likes getting fucking whiplash on a roller coaster.
We haven't heard from Black Robert Winfree in a while. From
You
the
keep
6
tempting me to show up in blackface to be Armand White for one of these reviews.
from the
Robert,
6
I beg of you, please don't.
I
I
beg of
might.
you to please do. From the 616 universe, Black Robert Winfree, Armand White of National Review. Working as his own cinematographer, Snyder makes the narrative as lusty as fantasy artist Frank Frazetta. But the sensual daring produces kineticism and wonder that matches The Thief of Baghdad.
You piece of shit.
Notice me, senpai. Notice me. I should do Bob Chipman. He did a good one.
Bob Chipman of Movie Bob Central. Call the end result Zack Snyder's stupider ascending.
Good job, Bob. You did good on
good.
that one.
I appreciate the callback to one of the few movies worse than this one.
Current
Ugh.
toaster oven that I beat up on this podcast, Travis Hobson of Punch Drunk Critics, the new fat guy, what was his
Kevin
thing called
Carr. Because we haven't seen Kevin Carr in a while.
again? A fat guy at the movies. Jesus, I forgot. It's been so long. Did we scare him off movies again? Pal.
One can hope.
Well, anyway, the new Kevin Carr, a fat guy at the movies, Travis Hobson of Punch Drunk Critics, current toaster oven. In just about every way, it fails to inspire, fails to connect you with any of its characters, fails to make you give a damn about the battle between good and evil.
Pretty much.
Accurate.
The kind of toaster that you just really want to cuddle up with in the bathtub.
All right. I think one more here, and then we'll call it a night for this particular bit. Hey, friend of the show, William Bibbiani
You keep
of the Rap
claiming
Top
that.
Critic. A hugely expensive but uninspired Star Wars knockoff with some thrilling action sequences and some truly ugly moments that taint the entire thing. Yeah. So that was the other thing I was going to say. I know I kept dozing off, but I swear to God, that sexual assault scene felt like it went longer than the end run of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre with just as much screaming. Like, I would nod off and wake up and she's still going. Like, how long was she screaming for? It felt interminable. Anyway, it really bothered.
Long of a scene, but anyway, yeah.
It really bothered the shit out of William Bibbiani. He did like a mini rant about like the queer coding in 300. Even Whitney Seibel was like, "Will you shut the fuck up about that already?" Jesus Christ, gay people can be evil too.
Good on Whitney.
Yeah.
And you're darn right they can. Look, man, if you demand equal representation, that's fine. I have nothing against gay characters, but that does mean that sometimes they're going to be evil
just
characters.
like black people, they can experience the full breadth of humanity, good, bad, and indifferent.
No, Mark, they can never be the bad guy in a movie. How dare you? That's
I know. All right,
Yeah,
David.
murder mysteries are so
enough.
boring nowadays.
So, David, you're back next.
really
Tuesday
are.
for- Jesus Christ, guys.
Oh, you got me thinking about that all of a sudden, and you're so not wrong.
All right, so David will be back for Lower Decks next week. Then the week after, he'll be back for Disenchantment. And I think that's it for you for the month of January. Is that correct, Dave?
That sounds about right.
Terrific. All right,
Until
Dave.
I drag them on to discuss Has-Been Hotel next month.
Woohoo!
That too.
It's going to be a hell of a time.
Woohoo, is right.
All right, anything else before we unceremoniously kick you off the podcast, David?
Nope, no, I think that's it for me. So as always, it's been a pleasure. I'm glad we were able to get that off our chest. So yeah, have fun talking about the year in review. And
All right, Dave. Talk to you
We're
later, man.
later.
We're gonna
Right.
barbecue this.
I look forward to listening to this tomorrow at work.
All righty. All right. Well, Dave departs from the podcast. Here we are with the final segment of the evening, the money and our year in review.
We're in the money. We're in the money.
All right. I just want to take a minute and do the usual year in review stuff. The weekend, the first weekend of 2024, January 5th to January 7th, Wonka retained its spot after 4 weeks in the number one spot for the weekend. pushing debuting Night Swim by Universal Pictures International to the number 2 spot. And if anyone's wondering, but why aren't you reviewing Night Swim? 1, because I didn't want to. 2, because I needed room for this piece of shit movie.
3, even us at the Unholy Trinity said, screw it, we're not reviewing that piece of crap.
Yeah,
Oh,
not
look,
even my kids wanted to see it. And they're like into the horror lately.
90 minutes of contrived jump scares. Whatever will we do?
Apparently, it actually started as a short film, and quite a good one, but it's one of those movies, like, just because it works as a short film doesn't mean it's going to work if you stretch the fucker out.
I bet this would make a darn good short film. I'm not kidding. Like, that sounds good, but...
Aquaman in its 3rd week fell from 2 to 3. Migration 3 to 4. Anyone But You maintaining its spot in 3 weeks at number 5. The Boys in the Boat in the Band in the Bum maintained its spot at number 6 for the 2nd week in a row. The Color Purple, which I did see with my daughter.
Dude, wait, 60% drop?
Mm.
Ow!
For which one?
Color Purple.
Color Purple.
Oh, yeah, I mean, look, I took my daughter and I, we bond over musicals. You can keep your comments to yourself.
No, and look, my comment is not going to be about musicals. You bonding with your daughter, you people who are spiritually aligned, you people who do the Steve Martin bit and come out and I was born a poor black child. Like you bond where you bond. You're good.
Okay. She wanted to see it. I don't think I would have seen it without her insistence, but I'm glad I did. I really enjoyed it to kind of give away a little bit of my top 10. That made it into my top 10. I thoroughly enjoyed every minute of that movie. Does it have problems? Sure. What movie doesn't? But
did you show her the original after watching?
I have not had an opportunity to yet. It's on my list of things to annoy her with.
She is not going to handle that well.
No. There is
Where's the singing? Where's the sassy black woman who doesn't get the shit beat out of her by her husband?
Oh, there's some shit kicking in this movie. I'll tell you that much. Anyway, I mean, as far as like
but Fantasia Barrino sings, she won an American Idol season 20 years ago.
As far as Afrocentric musicals go, me and the child both enjoyed the shit out of this. And I'm not surprised it's done okay, but I also don't think it has legs. So
it shouldn't have cost $200 million either.
Yeah, that shocked the shit out of me.
We'll call it good for 2023's Black Guilt holiday movie.
Sounds great. That's never couldn't have said it better myself.
You know that one of those comes out every year around in December. Yep. I'm not joking.
Yes. No, you're not wrong.
True.
All right, so that fell from 4 to 7, and yes, a 60% drop in its 2nd week. The Iron Claw fell from 7 to 8. Ferrari 8 to 9. Poor Things jumped up 2 spots from 12 to 10.
It's getting
Hunger Games.
It's getting the Poor Things getting the awards buzz. Emma Stone won the Golden Globe for Best Actress.
Yes.
Was this musical or comedy?
It was musical or comedy.
And which immediately made Jennifer Lawrence leave the dinner.
Yeah, I saw that on Twitter. Rounding out the top.
Taylor Swift get pissed. That was hilarious.
Rounding out the top 20 are Hunger Games, Boy and the Heron, which also just won an award. Godzilla Minus One, Trolls Band Together. American Fiction, which opened up in wide release, which I need to go see. My daughter and I saw the trailer for that, and she looked at me. She's like, "Dad, that's your movie. That is your movie right there." And I'm like, "I know." Wish 14 to 16 and 7. All of Us Strangers opened up in wide release. So that jumped from 23 to 17. Napoleon fell from 16 to 18, and The Holdovers rose a spot from 20 to 19, and The Zone of Interest jumped up from 24 to 20. So that was the weekend. Worldwide, and it's the first weekend of the year, so not a whole lot. Night Swim's the number 1 movie of the year. I suspect it'll be somewhere in the 50s by the time it's all said and done.
Well, hang on, because 2020. Watch this be in your top 10. This is the Ant-Man fentanyl corpse of 2024 is Night Swim that's going to cling on to the 10th spot. Because 2024 is a waste.
If that happens, I will both laugh and die at the same time. The only movement that I wanted to draw attention to, and the only reason why I wanted to make sure we did this, was Wonka is within 10 million.
Wonka might do it. It might knock down the fentanyl corpse of Ant-Man.
Wonka, just number 25 in the Royal Rumble. Just number 1 in the Royal Rumble. The one has lasted almost the entire hour of the Royal Rumble, and Wonka's set to fucking dump it over the top rope. So yeah, Wonka's within 10 million of supplanting Ant-Man and the fucking Wasp.
It might do it.
I'm
Go
rooting
Wonka, go.
And just because I know that Robert likes to Schadenfreude, likes to laugh, Marvel is currently sitting at number 27 between D&D and Trolls Band together at 205.
This is look. It's easy to say I'm just making fun of the MCU or I'm making fun of Disney, and I'm not saying you're entirely wrong. But this is a flop of historic levels, and that's why I'm laughing.
All right, let's take a minute. Let's just talk about. Let's kind of close out the book on 2023. I mean, I think for the remainder of January, I might go back and just see how Wonka's doing. But other than that, we're pretty much done.
It's probably worth checking until Wonka ends its run, at least. Yeah.
All right. So I guess we'll just go in turn. I'm gonna go first.
Mark's top 10.
Mark's top 10, which I can't put on screen.
Number 10.
I would say, wait, are these actually like 10, 2, 1, 1 is best, or is this no particular?
I'm gonna read
order?
it from 1 to 10.
Okay, fine. You ruined my gag then. No,
You want me to count it down?
No, I'm doing a gag. So you wanted to start at number 1. Fine. Number 1.
Honorable mentions are.
Okay. The Academy would like to thank for submitting for consideration the following films.
I did not. Sorry. I did knock these 3 out of my top 10. Oh, 2 of these. The other one just didn't make it, but I could not include it on a list somewhere. So my honorable mentions are the Super Mario Brothers movie, The Creator, and then The Iron Claw. I wanted to like The Iron Claw. We'll talk about this more in a few weeks. I wanted to like The Iron Claw more than I did. Not that I didn't like it. It's just like it didn't. I wanted to have like Coco tears, and I didn't, and I don't know why. Considering
you
like
cut out 2 of the suicides from that family that actually add more context to the tragedy.
Yeah. There was a couple of things about the movie where I was like, this isn't hitting me the way I want it to. So, but it's still it's a well-made movie. It's definitely one of the best movies of the year.
Because you want Zac Efron to die and he's the one that lives.
Maybe. Damn it. Foiled again. All right. Starting at number 10.
Number 10.
Evil Dead Rise. Again, I struggle still with the horror genre, but the successive years of doing this, I've been made to enjoy the genre. And I think Evil Dead Rise was one of the better made movies of this year. Plus, in terms of horror movies, it was the one that I probably enjoyed the most. Coming in at number 9, Extraction 2. Robert and I gushed about this movie. And when I was thinking about like, what movies did we review, as hard as we are on movies, what movies did we review that we had almost nothing but good things to say about it? It was Extraction 2. It was a simple enough action movie, but the action movies were probably the best shot of any movie this year. Like his raid on that compound,
his escape from the prison for sure.
Yeah, with the arrows and everything, and then like that, that elongated one shot, almost like fight scene.
Mm-hmm. Dude, he blocks a Molotov cocktail with a riot shield, which melts onto his arm, so his fist's on fire, and he proceeds to punch people with it. It's great.
Yeah, it's Extraction 2. I mean, plot-wise, there's not a lot there, but I think it's held up by the action sequences as the main pillar, and then all the performances are outstanding. So it's just, film being a visual medium in a when you're looking at like film craft, Extraction 2 is one of the best movies made this year. Killers of the Flower Moon. We
only at number 8.
Number 8, yeah. I mean, look, we talked about it at length. We talked about how great it is. We definitely had some complaints about it, but not a lot. And it's a superior film. It's just this one I didn't enjoy it as much as it is good. Yeah. And my list is a combination of both. Films that I both enjoyed and were made well. Godzilla -1, I enjoyed more than Killers of the Flower Moon.
Number 7.
And I think it was a better made movie, but not by much. Gran Turismo.
6. Ooh. You putting Godzilla -1 that far down is going to give you and me problems, considering I know some of the stuff you got above it.
I defend my choices.
You gonna defend Gran Turismo as better than Godzilla -1? Come on now.
I enjoyed it more.
It's not a defense. It's a justification.
I got your justification in my shorts. Anyway,
Yeah, it's really little, just like your argument.
Anyway, I really enjoyed Gran Turismo. I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the performances. I thought it was shot well. A lot of really superior film craft that went in there. I just thought it was a great movie, and it got me and Jason to a fist fight on air.
You know what? In fairness, if we were ranking like stuff that we generated, the discussions and whatnot, interaction that were generated around the movie, fair enough.
The Color Purple.
Again, this high, I just
musical, black people, everything. Just it was wonderful.
Daddy-daughter date.
Daddy-daughter date. Yep, it hit me all in the field. I was not bored. I enjoyed. When it was over, I could have stood for a little more. Had some craft issues here and there, but I would have to really think hard and long about it before to express them. I think just sitting and watching it, I was just having the time of my life, and so was Shay. Wonka.
That's number, what are we at? 4 or 5?
This is number 4.
4.
Number 4.
A medieval
Wonka.
shoe.
I mean, we talked at length about Wonka, and I think I remember saying at the time, like, Wonka brought me back to, the golden age of Hollywood, the way that it was made. Like, it was like, clearly it was shot on sets, but I miss those days. I like the stagey performances. I like the music in it as a whole. Nothing that was tremendously memorable, but
Mark is a fan of Broadway and the Broadway aesthetic, and this movie had that.
Coming in number 3.
Number 3,
John Wick 4.
A little bit high, but fair enough.
Finally saw that. We finally fucking rented it.
Best made action movie this year by a country mile. Only to be seconded by Extraction 2.
Second or third best action movie. Most memorable, but if we're talking best made movie overall, then I got issues. But
I was gonna say it's funny though, because like I said, I finally rented that the other night. Andre saw that when he was flying to go overseas, so he saw it without me. The scene when he's got to go up to the
staircase.
Yeah,
stairs.
Andre and I have been up those stairs.
Every bit as long as you think.
We went to the Basilica twice while we were staying in Paris for our honeymoon. And the minute I saw those stairs, Andre just looked at me and was like, "Didn't we go up those?" I'm like, "Yes," and I'm already having PTSD from it.
And then he gets kicked all the way back down.
I really enjoyed John Wick. I think it's one of the few that has like an epic runtime and ending that earns it. And I just, as far as hitting every note, all the legs in the stool, holding up the entire product, I think John Wick, that's third best, most enjoyed movie of this year. Coming in at number 2. Number two, Oppenheimer. Look, I'm not gonna fucking walk into a gunshot. So I'm not taking a cannonball.
Oppenheimer walked away with a ton of awards last night at the Golden Globes, and it deserved every one.
Look, when we discussed it, I said, "Hey, I wish the nuclear explosion were just done a little bit differently," and everyone was like, "What are you, nuts?" And I'm like, "Look, I don't know. I just expected something different." But once I was sort of over my expectations of it, I just sort of remembered it as a whole. Like, I've been watching clips of it on TikTok lately. I'm like, oh my god, this really is like a brilliant movie. And Christopher Nolan stands far and away as the best, the best complete director we have going in Hollywood right now in the mainstream.
I saw an amusing edit of the end of that. You've seen some of the edits that have come out about, like, one of my favorites, of course, is there's a bunch of people, and God bless them, who, if you watch certain movies or stuff that features the music of Linkin Park, they will. I saw this on YouTube. This was a trend for a little bit, but people would they would quote the end of the first Michael Bay Transformers movie, and do, like, only the OGs will remember his speech there. I was compelled, Mark. You understand, compelled to respond to this individual and go, "Young man, I respect what you're saying, but the OGs remember Weird Al and Stan Bush."
Yeah. All right. Mark Radulich's
Mark Radulich's
number one
number one.
Drum roll.
Best made movie and most enjoyed of the year. It made me feel young, like when the world was new.
Hurry up. The invisible drum's getting annoying.
Barbie. Can I tell you how, like, Barbie... I have talked to so many people about the podcast we did with that movie. And I love him to death. But it was like, everyone has come to me like, where was Robert? You needed Robert to talk about Barbie. And I'm like, I don't know if Robert and I would still be friends. He's like, true. But I don't see that ending well. But we would have absolutely had a very different conversation than the one that was had about Barbie that was very focused on one particular element. And it was so funny because I remember driving with my daughter and I was playing her the podcast and I go through this good 20-minute explanation of stuff that I was discussing with Ronnie. And then as I do with you and Alexis and everybody else, I go, okay, I've said my piece. Respond. Throw the ball back. Hit the ball back. Be in a conversation with me. Don't just wait for me to stop talking and say something out of left field. Have a dialogue. Respond to what I'm saying. And I gave him 20 minutes of stuff about Barbie. And Ronnie was Ronnie about it. And I looked at Lily and I'm like, it's so frustrating. I wish I had somebody who, was going to be like, was going to match me at tennis, just smash the ball back at me. And she was like, Dad, I love you, but I listened to that for 20 minutes and I couldn't follow you anymore. She was like, you said a lot and you sound like a very smart man, but holy shit. By the end of that, it would have taken me 20 minutes to figure out what the hell you just said and how to respond to you. Like, maybe break it up a touch. Like, all right, that's fair. And that was the other criticism I got was like, clearly you were way passionate about this movie and he was not ready for all that jelly. Look, I'm not going to apologize for how I feel about the movie. It gave me shit tons of stuff to talk about. I am an empathizer, mental health professional, empathy antenna. I feel, I see, I think, and Barbie rose to the occasion for me. You don't like it? That's fine. We're not the same people. But I will fight
Mark,
someone to the death about that movie.
Okay, couple of questions for you about this because you've seen the movie, I haven't.
Yup.
So the fact that the director is pissed that men are identifying with Ken, how do you feel about that?
She's entitled to feel how she feels, but I said this in a different podcast. You put your art out there, you have no control of how people are going to react to it, and all you can do is roll with the punches, baby.
The fact that Ken is the most enduring character that comes out of the Barbie movie.
Oh, welcome to life in the 24th century, life in the 21st century with men and women.
I think there's an argument.
I'm not fucking surprised by that.
So I think there's an argument to be made that you can't really knock that too much because a lot of that is just Ryan Gosling's portrayal and his adorableness.
Well, then cast a different actor.
On the production. I'm going to back up Alexis's point. I think, look, here's what I'll tell you. Without getting into an argument, without poking at anybody, I will tell you that when stuff hits a little too close to home for people, and this is what happened with Ronnie, but I think this happens in general, not just with like the Barbie situation. When stuff hits too close to home, people don't want to deal with it. And so they focus on something else. They project, they deflect. I think the fact that the stuff with the women and what was being said about women might have been a little too painful for a lot of people. And instead, they were like, I don't want to deal with this. And I don't want to deal with women. And I don't want to deal with how they feel. There's a bit of guilt that I think came out of the expressions in Barbie that a lot of guys were like, no, thank you. I'm not comfortable with this.
Counterpoint.
But they did identify with Ken. And so that's what they focused on. And more to the point, and this is the thing that Ronnie was talking about, it felt like this was an attack on men. And it was kind of easier to deal with that than it is to deal with how shitty women have been treated for centuries on end.
Counterpoint, if I may.
You're entitled.
I don't think it's guilt. I'm not
Okay.
saying there's. I'm not saying that. I'm going to speak broadly. So
Mhm.
I'm sorry. I'm just gonna go, play a game on my phone while you two hash this out.
this will be brief. Then it'll be your turn. But
No, let's
Oh, no,
fine. I like-
I'll make mine quick. Tell them I'll make mine quick. Tell the Meninists to quit whining and shut the fuck up.
you're not wrong. But when you make your ostensible lead character nothing but a vessel for your messaging, the actual character is going to stand out more.
I think that's a brilliant point. I don't think it negates the point that I was making. I think it's something in addition to. All right, Alexis.
Okay. Yep. I'll leave
Yep.
it at that.
Yep, let's leave it at that. Alexis, hey, that was the most civil discussion we've had about this fucking movie in 6 months. Alexis, baby, sweetie, hit me one time. Your top 10.
You don't want to go to Robert first? I thought I'd be last.
Alexis, baby, sweetie, honey, hit me. Top 10.
Okay, first of all, I don't know if I'd really call this an honorable mention, but because I could not decide between these two, they are both not on the list, and that's Evil Dead Rise / Talk to Me. These were both incredible, scary movies. I couldn't decide which one is better because they both scared me in very different ways, so I'm giving them both an honorable mentions. I don't feel right having a list without at least one good horror movie on it. So I
Can
want
I
to
ask
give them
you-
both a shout out.
Can I ask you something about Talk to Me real fast?
Sure.
Because that did not scare me in the slightest. And that's not me being like, I'm impossible to scare. I've been scared plenty of times.
You're part of the unholy trinity. I know I know your affinity for scary movies.
So I'm just curious. I've seen some people talking about this, and in my effort to understand why people liked it when it didn't resonate with me, because I'm like very non-social, the fact that a lot of this movie is tracking via like drug use at parties as kind of the metaphor for what we're using here, that a big part of like why it works for some people, and why it like would have just missed me entirely.
Probably.
I think it's also partially the concept of letting go of your grief and moving on. You have a character who is unable to let go of her grief, and in doing so, she jeopardizes the life of a sibling of a good friend who she's also good friends with, and she has to come to terms with that. And I'll just say, yeah, the scene of him getting possessed and the ending scared the shit out of me. That ending where she's in the hallway at the hospital. Oh my God, that I was like, that may legit give me nightmares tonight. So
Okay,
again,
that's
they're
fair.
both really good. They scared me in very different ways, which is
Number 10.
fine. Number 10, I actually have as a TBD. See, there are 3 movies that I haven't seen yet this year, and I know one of them I would add onto this list. The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, and The Boy and the Heron.
Okay.
I was supposed to see Killers of the Flower Moon this weekend, but with my parents, and they backed out when they realized it was a 3-hour film.
Even
My
with
mother
the charcuterie board and the 7-course meal like we talked about.
My mother literally said she could not stay awake that long. I'm
Mark,
not
you
joking.
must empathize with that. You have to. You don't get to say anything.
Fair.
Look, these are 3 movies. I've got freaking Peacock, and I was gonna watch The Holdovers, and I got busy.
Oh, the
And
Holdovers on Peacock? The
Yeah.
Holdovers on Peacock now?
It is.
That is,
And
for a
I wanted
couple
to
of
see The
weeks.
Boy and the Heron in theaters, but I only had time for one movie, so I went to see another one, which is also going to be on the list, and we'll talk about that later. So I'm giving those are not honorable mentions. Those are one of those would take the 10 spot.
Number
My
9.
hunch is you're going to go with Boy and the Heron. Shot in the
Possibly.
dark there.
For the record, there is an argument on the order of these, but I will go from the way
That's
I
fair.
wrote them. So number 9, John Wick 4.
Okay.
Again, loved it. Not gonna lie though, the scene with the radio DJ did make me groan a little bit, but that's just because The Warriors is one of my favorite movies. I have it on Blu-ray and I watch it all the time.
Great movie.
Amazing movie.
I actually loved the homage to it. I love that sequence.
It took me a while because the first time I saw it, the fact she actually said boppers, I'm like, oh dear God. But it's the fact that the director had always envisioned John Wick as a warrior style character that makes that whole sequence work for me.
Number 8.
Number 8, Wonka. Doesn't really, change cinema, but it's one of the few movies I walked out this year feeling warm and fuzzy and had a smile on my face, and I liked it. And I think that's something to really think about with a lot of movies. You know me, I like a good movie that makes me happy.
Number
Wonka
7.
does that. Number 7, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Boo!
Shut up. Well, shut up was at him. You're fine. Make your case.
Thank you.
Well deserved.
Really great way to wrap up the end of this trilogy. High Evolutionary is easily one of the best Marvel villains we have had in ages.
No
I
argument
would
there.
say I would say he's the third best villain that entire franchise has produced.
Under Thanos and Loki.
To the extent that you want to consider Loki a villain, yes.
Okay, fair enough.
Or you want to go with Thanos and Robert Redford?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
I'll
kind
give
of
you
what
that.
I would do. That would have been my hierarchy there.
I'll give you that. Thought it was really well done. Good way to close the book on these characters and potentially set up for a new director to take on this new batch with the Guardians. I really enjoyed it. Number 6, please don't hate me, Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves. Again,
I am not.
I've already
I am
booed
not
you once. I've used my boo.
Yeah, look, I did not boo any of Mark's choices. I might disagree and I might jokingly give him grief, but I'm not gonna. I did not boo him. I will not boo you.
Here's the thing: if most of your list is centered on what brought you the most joy this year, I can gently chide you, but I'm not going to give you shit about it.
okay, well, that's the thing. I am going
Yeah.
with the movies that brought me the most joy.
Right, and
Okay.
you have been. And here's the thing: you're consistent at least because Guardians of the Galaxy and Dungeons and Dragons, you beat that drum pretty much all year since those movies came out.
Mhm.
I can't take that away from you.
Yeah, no, really loved it. It's such a fun movie. I love the acting in it. I love the story. I got it on DVD. I love watching it. Number 5, Nimona. This was one of the best animated films.
I knew it. I knew you would make room for that one.
Oh, absolutely. Have you seen it yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great. And the fact that this is the movie that Disney tried to essentially shit can because it was the final piece from Blue Sky.
The
You know.
fact that so many people were, because the Golden Globes happened last night.
Mhm.
I knew a lot of people who did the I'm surprised into the Spider-Verse, across the Spider-Verse, whatever it was.
Yeah, it lost to the Miyazaki film.
Boy and the Heron, yeah. There's a lot of people that went, oh, I kind of thought Spider-Verse was going to get it. One, Spider-Verse is not a better movie than Boy and the Heron, straight up. In fact, in a lot of ways, it's a bad movie, but see our review when we discussed that. Nimona actually would have been my second choice for Best Animated Feature this year behind Boy and the Heron, personally.
All right, number 4, Godzilla -1. That was the movie I had an opportunity to go to the theaters and see. It was either that or The Boy and the Heron. Andre
you made
came
the right
with me.
choice.
Andre came with me. He really wanted to see the Godzilla film too, and I was like, well, okay, that makes the decision a little bit easier. Loved it, loved it, loved it. Number 3, nothing of consistent, right, Mark? Super Mario Brothers. This is the movie.
I'm fucking surprised it's not number 1.
This is the movie I have watched the most times.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the minute it was available on Amazon, we bought it. And I have watched it countless times. Now it's on Netflix. And if I'm someplace where it's like I can't boot up my Amazon digital downloads account, it's like, well, I can at least watch it on Netflix. Love it, love it, love it. Number 2, Across the Spider-Verse.
Oh,
Sorry, the animation in
You're
this
good.
is impeccable. It is one of the most beautiful films I have seen. I really enjoyed it. I am greatly looking forward to the third movie. Number 1,
In 5 years.
Oppenheimer.
wow! Barbie didn't make your top 10 at all.
I liked Barbie, but yeah, I would probably put it in maybe number 11 or 12. It would definitely be in my top 15. And I hate to say mostly just because I appreciate the effort that went into it. It's a movie I'm glad I saw, but I don't really have a desire to watch again.
That's fair. All right, Robert, take me home, baby
Yes.
doll.
So the exercise here was to come up with the best 10 movies, and I took that to mean I
So
had to
literally-
fill all. Hang on, I took that to mean I had to fill all 10 spots. So I filled all 10 spots on my list. If you want my actual opinion about like, hey, were there any great movies this year? There's like 3.
Okay.
But it seems to be, I would have been operating in bad faith if I came on here and went, here's my top 10, here's 3 movies, and pieced out. Like, it might have been a decent gag, but it would have been done in bad faith, and I'm not really going to do that. So these are in no particular order. So I will start with the bottom of my list. Understand this does not mean I would rank it number 10 if I were to sit these out and rank these.
I think your brother's trying to predict you.
He's closer than he knows. But the number 3 is the movie he's referencing in his number 3rd spot here on this list is When Evil Lurks, not When Evil Comes. So number 10, again, not 10th rank, just this is where my list goes. Sisu. This I debated between this and Extraction 2 in this for like this was the last one I came up with because I was debating between those two. But
didn't get a chance to see it. Didn't premiere at any major theaters.
It's worth a watch.
I saw the trailer when I saw Evil Dead Rise, and the group that I went to go see, we all were like, "Ooh, that looks badass." So
yeah, Mark and I have lamented the death of the 90-minute, unrepentantly violent 80s style action movie because not just because it's an ethos of film to make a movie in that genre. More than Extraction, I think Sisu hits that ethos for what those movies are. And that's kind of why it wound up being here for me.
It's closer to the kind of violence you get in The Passion of the Christ than it is what I would prefer to see, which is more Extraction.
It is not that violent. I'm not saying it's not violent. Hang on. This is violent as heck.
Okay, if I have First Blood here in The Passion of the Christ here, it's closer to fucking here than not, And I want to be
That's
here.
one hell of a chart, by the way. I like that.
It's not a visceral, attempted snuff film the way The Passion of the Christ is. But it is absolutely violent. It's paced well, if slightly unrelentingly. It follows a very grizzled hero that I'm kind of missing. I appreciate that a lot of the 80s theory behind heroes was they're big and they're muscly and they look great on film and covered in baby oil. The fact that the modern interpretation of the action hero is more like this guy's in his 50s and boy has he seen life, and this is his superpower basically is I've
the Liam
experienced.
Neeson model.
Little bit, yeah. So I appreciated that. It's a fun story. It's violent. It's a short watch. Thumbs up. Enjoyed the heck out of it. 9 would be John Wick Chapter 4. I'm just going to echo what you guys have said. It's very well put together. Earned the epic runtime. Has a couple of my favorite overall sequences that were filmed all year, especially the top-down sequence with the Dragon's Breath shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
Big thumbs up. 8, Killers of the Flower Moon. One of the better Scorsese movies in the last little bit. Top-tier cinema. Got issues, see our review of it. Some of these we reviewed, some of these we didn't. So you'll have to bear. If I wax a bit more wordy on these, it's going to be the ones we did not review here. 7, Evil Dead Rise, echoing just a lot of the technical elements that were that took place here. It's a franchise I have a deep love for, and they did it justice. So big thumbs up. Looking forward to more. Give me one Evil Dead movie every 18 or so months, and I'll probably be happy as long as they don't start sucking.
As long as there's at least one slightly hidden Bruce Campbell cameo.
Keep paying that man his money.
But you know where his cameo was in Evil Dead Rises, right?
Oh, where was it? I forget.
When they're playing the second part of the record, and you
right,
and it's
right. His voice is there.
Yeah, it's something. It's like burn the music, burn the book, something to the effect. He's the one who's shouting for them to destroy it.
If you remember you bringing that up, you weren't on that review, but I know you've brought that particular point up before. Keep going.
Number 6, Asteroid City. I'm not the biggest Wes Anderson fan. Again, this is not where. Again, if I were to order these, this would not be number 6. If these were ordered appropriately, it's where it came. Wes Anderson has a very interesting style of filmmaking, and his films are anti-empathy. which is not to say you have no emotion, but most movies, the relationship to storytelling goes like as such. Here's a character. They have emotions. They project them. You, as the audience member, have, in theory, felt something similar, and you then like this character or don't like them, but you have some emotional connection. And it resonates within your empathetic centers, and this is what makes you feel an emotion. That's the basic feedback loop, right?
Yep.
Anderson deliberately cuts that. He deliberately puts his characters in deeply emotional situations, but does not have them emote in the traditional sense. He does not invite you, the audience, to feel what the character is feeling.
I think when Sean and I talked about it, I described his movies as almost like autistic.
Okay.
And it's that I liked Rushmore and I loved Royal Tenenbaum. And when we got to Asteroid City, I think the reason why I didn't rank it higher and I've struggled with it, and I'm glad that you liked it, and I'm not taking that away from you. It's not that I think it's a bad movie. But I think my problem with it is exactly as you're describing, is that as he's gone on from Rushmore to Tenenbaums to Zissou all the way down, I feel like he's losing. There was more of an empathetic connection in his earlier movies than his last few. I was also thinking of like The French Dispatch, like to where there almost seems to be like a veneer that's unsettling for me.
Well, let me tell you why I think this works, because here's what actually you have to engage with his movies differently.
Okay.
And well, which is just to say that instead of you trying to resonate empathetically with the character, the situation is meant to make you bring your baggage, you as an audience member. And so consequently, like there's different parts where if you don't have emotional baggage similar, or that the situations will resonate with, the movie doesn't quite work. Okay. And that's fair. Like this is what any movie will have this problem, even if they engage in the traditional attempted empathetic feedback loop. Anderson presents, again, very emotional characters in very emotional states, but the method of delivery is designed to make you deal with your own stuff rather than liken your stuff to the character stuff. And this will work for some and it won't for others. And this movie also has a wonderful little bit of like snarkily poking at the overly artistic community that I got a serious kick out of.
He does like to make fun of privileged white people.
Well, it's not just white people in this case. He's poking fun at, again, like, so why does this character do this thing in this play that's clearly the most important thing in the world? And this is making fun of artists.
Artists, white people, same thing. All right.
Sure they are.
Go on.
5, The Holdovers. Paul Giamatti won the Golden Globe for Best Actor, Musical or Comedy, and is a heavy contender for the Oscar for Best Actor. I don't know that he'll beat Cillian Murphy, but
the actress in it won the Golden Globe last night too. I cannot pronounce her full name. I always forget it.
Also very well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Incredibly well deserved. This is a throwback. It's even like shot in the style of the 70s with like an attempt to replicate film quality.
Oh, is that like grainy film quality? Okay.
Little bit, yeah. Wonderfully acted, funny in places, gut punches in others. Paul Giamatti is awesome. This is absolutely worth your time if you're one of the few people that have Peacock, find it there. Wherever you can. Great little bit of filmmaking. Wonderful. This is an actor's movie. Watch the acting from the actors, because they do so much physically. In addition to great line reading, there's a scene where Paul Giamatti's character just kind of like walks from one building to the other. Along the way, he pauses, picks up a football, and very badly throws it. And it makes any scene you describe in a vacuum doesn't work, but this works, and it tells you a lot about the character and why Paul Giamatti made some of those choices. Again, great movie. 4, if I were actually ranking these 1 through like 10, this would be number 3. But because this is where it came to me when I was writing this out, there's an Argentinian horror movie, When Evil Lurks. It's on Amazon Prime at the moment. I don't know if I have that because I have Shudder or if it's just on Amazon Prime. Someone feel free to double check me. You got to like horror to like this movie, but it presents a very interesting world, good characters. There's some horrific kills. There's a little girl that gets mauled by a dog, and that's not even the 4th most effed up thing in this movie. Again, if you like visceral horror, this movie does not have a happy ending. Spoiler alert. It's shocking how many horror movies do have happy endings, though. So I actually think it's important to kind of qualify that out. This is absolutely worth your time. This is the best horror movie all year. This coming from a guy who actually didn't dislike either Infinity Pool or Speak No Evil. This is your movie for 2023 if you like horror. Look it up. Worth your time. 2 big thumbs up. 3, Boy and the Heron, which won for Best Animated Feature at the Golden Globes yesterday. This is the first like quasi-autobiographical of Hayao Miyazaki's films. This is beautiful. Wonderful dream logic, emotional, touching on how you deal with loss, how you move on, the magic, the childhood magic and the halcyon days of your youth. A beautiful magical world to get lost in. I saw the dubbed version because they weren't offering the subtitled one, or I would have seen that. But even the English dub is very good. Robert Pattinson, utterly unrecognizable, voicing the Heron. Sounding a lot like Mark Hamill, actually, who voices a character in this as well. Beautiful stuff. Top tier Ghibli magic on display here in every respect. Hugely recommended. Again, wonderful, wonderful film. 2, Godzilla -1. This, again, if I'm actually ordering these out personally for my top 10, there's a good chance this is actually my number 1 movie all year. I love Godzilla. Have loved that franchise for a long time. This is a return to Godzilla being a monster. You get some of the best destruction sequences. You get human characters that you actually care about who go on wonderful arcs. You get a great finale. You get a great, again, city being destroyed. Wonderful use of music. Not really a bad thing to say about that movie anywhere, top to bottom. 2 really big thumbs up. I hope it gets some of the awards it's going to wind up nominated for because it deserves them. Magical piece of filmmaking. And 1, Oppenheimer. This is it's all that's left, Mark. Don't roll your eyes at me.
No, it's like, of course it is. Like I was jokingly gonna yell at Barbie. Like, no, Oppenheimer.
Well, didn't you say on the chat that Godzilla -1 and Oppenheimer kind of go back and forth between number 1 and number 2 spot for you?
My order in this case was just the order that I sat down to write them out. I did not pick my 10 best and then go, okay, what's number 1, what's number 2, what's number 3. Godzilla and Oppenheimer kind of flip-flop depending on the day sometimes. Listen to our review. Incredibly well-made film, incredibly well-acted film. Robert Downey Jr. winning awards for this one, as he should. Cillian Murphy winning awards, as he should. Well-told, incredibly well-directed. Very good use of music. Just top to bottom, Oppenheimer is one of the more remarkable movies of the last year. Barbie was always going to get made. Maybe not in the same, we may have always got the same product that we got in the end, but there was always going to be a Barbie movie. A near 3-hour biopic about Oppenheimer raking in almost $1 billion is a freaking miracle.
Yeah, that is one of those, like, I don't know, you'll never know when a happening is gonna happen, but when it does, it's pretty magical to watch. And that's kind of what the Barbenheimer thing was, especially the Oppenheimer part of the Barbenheimer. All right, now we get into the really wonky part of our year in review. And I know everyone's just like, ugh, why do these guys talk about this stuff? Because I fucking like
matters.
It matters. But I mean, we don't just do film deconstruction here. We also look at the theater in which film production takes place, the culture in which it takes place. There's a lot of
Theater of the
discussion.
mind, if you will.
There's
The
a lot of
drama
discussion
that plays out.
on Damn You Hollywood over why certain films get made, why they're being made the way that they are. I mean, an hour ago we were talking about like why does Netflix give Zack Snyder $200 million and say go nuts, and
I thought
then
it was
there's no
$150
oversight.
million.
Yeah, and then there's no oversight, and I explained why. At least that's my theory based on evidence that I've seen. So who knows how close I am to being right about that, but that's what I think. In any case, that's a lot of what informs the discussions here on Damn You Hollywood. Is what drives me nuts about a lot of other people's film reviews is they kind of tend to look at things in a vacuum. One, it's very opinion based. It's did I like it? Didn't I like it? If I liked it, it's good. If I didn't like it, it's bad. That's not good film review. That's not good film. That's not film deconstruction at all. I think that's
very poor critical thinking skills in general. Much less.
yeah,
pointed
that
at
is
film.
that is your basic water cooler bullshit conversation that anyone can have. I think if you're gonna spend the time to sit with people and have a film discussion, maybe a little more thought needs to go into it than just I like it, I didn't like it. So why I struggle to have people on this show, because like I just want to come on and tell you that I liked it. No.
So write a tweet, send Mark
Yeah.
a message, he'll read it on air, and then you can tell people that you liked it.
Put it on TikTok and I'll play it for you. So we dedicate a third of our podcast to talking about the money, and we talk about projections, and we talk about like what informs the marketplace and things like that. And then we get to our year in review where we look at how well or how poorly did the studios do. And I don't know how well you can see it on screen, but I want to give a shout out to Jesse, who I plugged all the numbers in, and then he kind of refined it for me to put the totals. I'm going to start with the number one, and then I'm going to go to the number one, and then I'm going to go to last place, because the last place is fucking hilarious. These are ordered.
Next time, Mark, do a lighter shade of red. It is like crazy hard to read.
Okay.
In that red.
Thank you for that note. I don't think. Again, I'm thinking about like me looking up close at the computer screen and not how this is going to look on StreamYard. So I remember that for next year.
I wasn't criticizing. I was just saying it's like for future reference.
I know. I get it.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. I think because I'm looking at I highlighted the yellow ones, the ones that I couldn't get all them. I'm not going to count in the totals because I don't have all the information, like the budgets. And this is what I was getting at. The formula that we use to determine profitability, not profitability, is what we talk about when we talk about the money, and that is twice the budget. This doesn't always work, but I have to do easy math, and this has to be easy conversation, or we lose people.
Let me just I'll try to be brief here. So the general rule of thumb, you said twice the budget. You might ask why. Because theaters have to make money. The general rule for most of the world, United States, Canada, the UK, France, Australia, most of the world, the theater keeps somewhere between 45 and 55% of every ticket sold. The other half of that equation, whatever it is, goes to the studio. And this varies. This actually does have some play. It varies a little bit. Major studios with major releases can demand more because they're going to drive more traffic.
Disney was demanding like the lion's share of the profits from studios for a while, and they could, because for a while Marvel was kind of ruling the roost.
But they got as high as 60% sometimes. Other smaller films on occasion will again, there is some play. That 55 to 45% window is usually where most films fall. There is an important caveat. Well, there are two important caveats here. That one, we can't know. One is too much of a pain to suss out. What we don't know is the marketing budget. Sometimes these are always internally set aside for each individual film, though sometimes this gets cannibalized. For example, the advertising budget for Black Panther 2 sucked up the advertising budget for like 2 other movies that Disney released last year. So the long and the short of that being, the advertising that went into Black Panther 2 was almost equal the production budget, which is awkward. Normally you want half. Now that a lot of production budgets are very high, you don't generally want to go what you spent on production to be spent in advertising. It screws the math over what you can be profitable about. So we don't know. Some of these we might, if we have rough estimates on some of the individual films, we'll talk about them, but otherwise we leave that alone. Here's the other thing. China. Studios do not recoup about 50% of a ticket. In China, they get like 20 to 25%. Might even be lower. I forget the exact number. Now, we don't separate that here because, again, it's too much of a pain to suss out exactly how much came from China, then try to remath that down to, a fourth.
Right.
Instead of what we normally
we don't have the balance sheets. Now, there are things like post-theatrical exhibition, like selling, if it doesn't go directly on their streamer, selling it to a Netflix, selling it to an Amazon.
Yeah.
There's
the only reason I bring up China is we're going to talk about Transformers Rise of the Beasts in the near future.
Mm-hmm.
Using this model, it looks like it's profitable. When you realize how much of that film's box office take came from China, it is not. Okay. But for the sake of what we do, it's a bit too in the weeds to really break that down.
So it might be a little hard to say on screen, but basically, looking at this chart, I did what the original budget was. The stated budget, I just pulled it off of Wikipedia, and if it wasn't there, I put an X there. Then I multiplied the budget by 2. This is the budget I'm using to determine profitability. Okay. The budget times 2. Robert just explained why we're doing it, and we're applying it to every case and every situation. Maybe individually it doesn't or doesn't apply. I don't really care. For the purposes of this discussion, it's good enough. This is what the worldwide total was. So this is the worldwide gross that we do every week when we do the money. And what I did was I took this column, the worldwide total, and I subtracted the budget times 2. That is how much that movie made and determined whether it was profitable. So, for example, we have the Universal Focus feature. And then the other thing was, I didn't just look at the major studio. I looked at its subsidiaries. So anything that was a Focus feature, which is their Tiffany independent studio, Illumination, which is their animation studio, or anything else that was like a subcategory of Universal, is on this list, assuming I got them all. So we have Megan, Knock at the Cabin, Cocaine Bear, 1001, The Super Mario Brothers, Renfield Book Club, Fast X, Asteroid City, Ruby Gilman, the Oppenheimer, The Last Voyage of Demeter, Strays, My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3, The Exorcist Believer, Five Nights at Freddy's, which I included on the list even though it was day and date on Peacock, which brings up another point. I didn't include anything that went straight to streaming. The Holdovers.
But if it was day and date, it still counts.
If it was day and date, it still counts. But if it was strictly a streaming release, or we're talking like it was in the theater for a week and then it went to streaming, I'm not counting that. Trolls Band Together and finally Migration. And by my math, with help from Jesse Starcher, they spent almost $2.20 billion to make 19 films and release them.
Hang on, that's the budget times 2.
Yeah. Yes. When I say that, that's what I'm talking about. So because I don't want to keep repeating myself and lose people. They made, after budget and marketing and all of that, $2.164 billion in 2023. So they are by far the highest earning studio in the year 2023. They had, I think, the most successful movies, led by Oppenheimer, but also Super Mario, and it was Five Nights at Freddy's was big for them at 254.
Five Nights at Freddy's insanely profitable, not just because its budget was so low.
They announced today sequels getting started.
They had 5 of the 19 movies that they released. 5 of them weren't profitable, and those were Renfield Book Club, Ruby Gilman, The Last Voyage of Demeter, and Strays. And the one that I think performed the worst was Renfield. It lost $103.1 million.
As a minor aside, this is real fast. As a minor aside, Fast X is a money loser. Now, not by a huge margin, and for the math we're doing, it's categorized appropriately. When you factor in marketing and a few of the other things for Fast X, that movie needed to be like $1 billion to really start seeing profitability. Also,
when you talk about how well that movie has performed up to this point, I think 9 might have been the exception, but that was like right in the middle of the COVID stuff. So if you think about movies like 6 through 8, I think it was, they were all like billion-dollar movies. I mean, this was this until COVID, the trajectory was up and up, and they were making billions of dollars. Fast X, having been further out from COVID than 9, was supposed to do $1 billion. It wildly underperformed at $714 million. But then you also have to consider the budget times 2 was almost $700 million. That's ridiculous.
And bear in mind, again, that budget times 2 is not the advertising, and they spent a lot on advertising that movie.
Even if you just look at what the production budget was, the production budget was $340. They spent more on that movie than most movies make.
Yeah.
That's But they, thank God for Oppenheimer and Super Mario, or the studio would have had some difficulties.
They would have had a real bad year if not for those 2 movies.
Now,
That's like Five Nights at Freddy's was also a pretty good plug for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is the
And
number one
bacon.
studio by a country mile. I'm going to go through these individually, but I want to go ahead and now contrast it with the worst performing studio in 2023. And by the way, like, part of the reason why we started doing this segment was Robert and I would look at the trades, we would look at Variety, we would look at the Hollywood Reporter, and we would see the spin, and we go, "This is bullshit. This is fucking horseshit."
Mhm.
And we would dig
can
into it
do
like,
the
no, this
math.
math doesn't add up. And it's because they were focusing on like very specific things, like, oh, Disney is the most profitable studio, domestic, like shit, like, you're not really giving a clear picture of what this is. So
It's like, we
or-
get
or-
that Iger is, slipping Variety a few $1,000s under the door.
Or no, my favorite one is, this is the biggest studio. They generated the most they generated the most. They drew the most at the box office. How much of that was profit? Shut up.
right, yeah. So again, like I can go through these and show you where they made a lot of money, only if you don't look at what they spent. Which, like, it's like trying to explain to like your idiot spouse, like oh, we made all this money. Yes, but you spent it all at fucking Target. We don't have any anymore. If I brought home a $2,000 check and you spent $1,900 of at Target, you asshole. Well, we only have $100 left. We don't have $2,000. I'm saying we do.
It's an oddly specific complaint, Mark.
Not that happened once.
Only once?
Anyway, so having said that and having a minor reaction, Disney.
Hold on. I want to get ready. We're going to have to cut the jugular for this because I'm going to need to see a lot of red.
Oh,
Disney,
so much,
who also owns Fox, or anything that was Fox Studios, 20th Century, counted. Marvel, Lucasfilm, Pixar. Disney owns all of it. Surely, in the year of our Lord 2023, they made a profit.
Hurry it up. My arms are getting tired. I need to cut a vein.
Speaking of cutting a vein, that's a lot of red. Disney hasn't had a profitable movie since A Haunting in Venice, and that was like September.
That was Disney?
Technically, yes.
And I would like to point something out. Dead fucking last. They lost $500 million by my math.
That's only available through our math, by the way.
Yeah.
When you factor in what they spent on advertising, people should be jumping out windows voluntarily or otherwise over this year over there.
Yeah, people should be given an opportunity to either take the stairs or the fucking window.
I kept making jokes about them burning down Disney World and blaming DeSantis, but at this point, I am genuinely shocked it hasn't happened.
I mean, Jesus Christ. Look at all that red. Look at negative 550. They made less money than fucking Lionsgate, and that's barely a studio.
The only one on there that is even remotely a decent sign is Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Yeah, could you imagine how much worse this is if Guardians had failed? Like,
And there's, two things. One, again, we're being very charitable to Ant-Man because we are excluding what they spent marketing it, flat out
Right.
excluding it. And Guardians was not cheap to market either, but Guardians is their biggest success all year
and it also
not just by,
underperformed.
which, yeah, it also it underperformed. It's also their biggest success in terms of both percentage and real dollars.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah. So I want to talk about, I think there's a conversation to be had about some of these budgets. Like Disney, because if you look at like 2019, when like the top, like 8 of the top 10 movies were Disney's and they were all over $1 billion.
Yep.
And they're still operating like like I sent this to Melissa today on the occasion that I will still text her during the day. I sent this bit of information to her because, you know, she's a big fan of the studio, likes the product and everything, was a big fan of going to the parks. So it's like, hey, I was doing my spreadsheets for the show tonight. Jesus Christ, look at what happened to Disney. And she was like, that makes me sad. And I bring that up only to say that my next comment to her was, it's a good thing they're taking 2024 off. Because you and I, Robert, we went through the schedule. There's nothing left from Disney proper. There's a handful of Fox, and
They are currently
I think one
reshooting.
Pixar.
And
They are
Deadpool 3.
Well,
That
yeah,
would
that's
be
Fox.
Fox.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
sorry.
under the Fox. They are currently reshooting Captain America 4 dystopian novel title here from the ground up.
Yeah.
They already spent $200 million shooting that thing. Couldn't edit it, couldn't save it, couldn't get a test score above 25 from your hand-selected audience, and are starting from scratch.
So there's something to be said for it. You can't be doing 200, 250, almost 300 million on the fucking Little Mermaid, 300 on Indiana Jones, almost
The Marvels
300 on the Marvels.
I guarantee you the Marvels was actually over 300. I would guarantee anything
How
that
the
it's
fuck did
underreported.
Wish cost $200 million? You people are insane. But they were operating in, like, you know, and to their defense, they were operating under 2019 thinking. Everything we make is a hit.
And
Everything
and
we
a
make-
lot of this stuff, I mean, we've talked about this before. Like, these are giant industries that take time to turn around. This is
Right.
all stuff that was greenlit 3-4 years ago.
Right. Before the bottom fell out. So, yeah, it's no shit they took 2024 off. No shit that they're letting the Fox studio, which includes Deadpool, take the brunt of next year because Disney has to fucking retool their entire studio.
There is one good thing to come out of this. Someone pointed this out in a video I was watching on YouTube, talking about how bad of a year this has been for Disney. They were talking about the previous times that Disney has nearly bankrupted itself and fallen down. We're talking like the Black Cauldron years.
Right.
And how every time that has happened, Disney has turned around and given us a renaissance. You know, it's like, I think about how, like, after the Black Cauldron years, that's when we got the Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast and stuff. It's like, so they were basically saying the one good thing that could come of this
Yeah.
is
Look,
that
I don't doubt that.
yeah, we may now see Disney rise from the ashes and be a better studio than ever before. And I do want that. Unlike certain people on this network, I don't want Disney to fail.
Nobody
do
at this
love
nobody
it.
at this podcast. I'm not rooting for this company to fail. I
I
think
want
what
to
you
see
get-
them make a comeback.
I think what you're getting from me is a lot of frustration because Robert and I, again, have been examining studio behavior for nigh on 10 years.
Well, I
And
said
we're-
on this network. I didn't say on this podcast. I'm not naming names, Mark,
Okay, I'm just saying.
but you know who I'm talking about.
In defense of Alexis's point, there are more than a few people that are on this podcast network who are, in fact, looking
Rooting
at
for it to
Disney's
fail.
current trajectory.
No,
and
I get.
going-
I'm not. I wasn't arguing with her. I just wanted it to be clear for the audience sake. It ain't
Okay.
me and Robert cheering for Disney's demise.
Yeah, no,
catch
we've got.
me-
I was going to say
Ask
there's
me
at
again
least
tomorrow.
like there are at least 3 people on this earth, at least 3 who look at this blood and then they say, "Okay, let's go shoot the fireworks and pop the champagne,
Yeah, but-
baby."
Okay, but can I, in defense of those people, they've been betrayed. If not by Disney proper, then definitely by Marvel. And these are,
That's
and I
fair.
hate to use this phrase because I don't mean it to be as sardonic as it's going to sound because I'm defending them, but they're butthurt. Their feelings got hurt.
Yeah.
The studio turned on them, and they were its most adoring fans in terms of comic book readership. and they don't feel like that company represents them anymore. That company fucking hates them and wishes it wishes those men were not their fans. It wants different fans. And I can say that about Marvel. I can say that about Lucasfilm. And one or two of those guys, that goes for Disney as well. There are fans of the dark Disney years that count amongst our friends and are wondering what happened to the Disney I once knew. So when you talk about like, oh, they're rooting for it to fail, it's kind of like when your girlfriend breaks up with you and you want her and the next guy to fall like apart. Like you don't want him to be happy. You don't want him to move on.
You want her to gain 50. You want her to gain 50 pounds.
Yeah. You want to be like left on the side of the fucking road. So anyway, my point is,
wow.
like,
Well, okay. Now, while we all need to go take a fucking Vicodin.
My point being, a lot of what you're seeing is cheering is a lot of hurt feelings, feeling like this company turned away from them angrily, and we're like, the fuck,
and
lots of luck to you.
Insulted you multiple times on the way out.
Right. So I see both sides of it. Anyway, so that's Disney. It had a miserable year. It lost $500 million
At least.
and it's taken the next year off, and it fucking needs to, because how do you come back from this? Like, without that year to recalibrate.
Like I said, we've seen them do it before, and a lot of us are really hoping that this is going to be a sign of another Disney renaissance.
I have moderate hope in Pixar turning things around. I have moderate hope in the MCU. Not a lot, moderate.
Okay.
That's a ship that can be saved, I think.
I
don't think Lucasfilm can be saved.
The second most successful film this year was led by Barbie and Wonka and Evil Dead, and that was Warner Brothers, which, despite The Flash, despite Aquaman, despite Blue Beetle, despite Shazam! Fury of the Gods, its successes
By sacrificing Batgirl.
Oh my god, get over it.
Never, Zaslav is evil.
Okay. Nothing like beating a dead horse. And believe me, I know being a dead horse. Warner Brothers lucked out because it was one of those like Batten 500 where it either struck out and hit the Empire or it cracked it over the fence. Like there was no middle ground here.
I'm not kidding. If you take Barbie off this list, they are on fire.
No, look, Barbie saved them, but Barbie's not the only one. Evil Dead Rise was wildly profitable by at 108 million.
Well, hang on. Yes, it is, but that's also like relative to its budget. When I say like you needed to pull in a giant big number independent of what you spent on the low budget movie, it's Barbie, and that's it for them.
Sure.
Make Two Trench was actually profitable?
Yes, at 117 million. I surprised the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
Did well overseas. This is one of those that might have to recalibrate for China a little bit, but
okay. That makes sense.
And then Wonka currently on fire.
Wonka
currently losing money, and maybe it's profitable by the end of its run, but at the time that I did this, it wasn't.
Nope.
And House Party did so poor, there is no budget reporting for it. That was one where
I think you're ashamed of that.
That was a movie that was originally supposed to go straight to Max.
Well, I was about to say that.
If Zaslav had been in power, he would have axed that.
Okay,
and we all would have understood.
Because I know that and Magic Mike got recalibrated for theatrical release that was supposed to go to Max, but I thought they were both Zaslav doing.
No,
that was pre-Zaslav.
Yeah,
I think it was.
Zaslav came into power mid this year, I think.
Oh,
the first thing Zaslav did was Batgirl.
Then somebody before Zaslav, because you cry about Batgirl, but somebody before Zaslav then was already making those kinds of decisions, because the decision to recalibrate Magic Mike and House Party and cut Batgirl was all made before that. It was made 2021. Like they were starting to strip mine original content from Max a year before we started seeing the results of it. Like House Party was, I think, actually supposed to be a 2022 release, and it was like in production in 2021, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Same thing with Magic Mike. So
House Party was supposed to go into production in 21, but COVID.
Right. So I think, as much as we want to, like, I know Zaslav's like your sworn enemy because of what he's done to the animation department, but I think Zaslav kind of just picked up the ball that was already in motion in terms of nothing goes to Max. This is a giant money hole.
And then desperately tried to merge with another company to stave off their massive amounts of debt.
So yes, the number one studio of the year was Universal, and number two, Saved by Barbie. Put it on a t-shirt, Mindy. Warner Brothers. Sony, the little engine that could. Sony, barely a studio. Just kind of taking a page from Universal, and we'll just keep quietly cranking out movies, and maybe we'll sell them to Netflix post theatrical release, and we'll quietly make $1, and we're not going to bother anyone.
Yeah.
They made $547.8 million after budgets and everything, and if you look at like the budget column here, 7 million, 18 million, like the most expensive movie they made was Spider-Verse, and it made worldwide 690 million, and it profited 390 million. The second most was Napoleon, and yeah, that tanked, but
Boy, did it.
They shared that with Apple, so fuck them.
Dude, hang on. Because Killers of the Flower Moon is not profitable.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone understands. There were a bunch of people doing they spent $250 million on this. What are they doing? This is unsustainable. And somebody had to go to this poor person on Twitter and go, my man, Apple is a $1 trillion company.
Mm-hmm.
The budget for this movie is not even a rounding error for them.
So to Alexis and her enjoyment of Spider-Verse, that is their most profitable movie, and took up the bulk of what they fucking made in that 547.
Yep.
Can't believe anyone but you was actually profitable.
Reasonable budget. Look, it's a loose return to the mid 2000s attractive people doing funny things.
It reminded me, the trailer and the poster reminded me, I can't remember what the title was, but there was a pseudo rom-com with Matthew McConaughey and Kate Hudson years ago.
Yeah,
they were like treasure hunters, and the poster had them like decked out in gold. Yes, thank you. Because I remember somebody making a joke. I was like 90% sure this movie was just made for the trailer, because let's face it, those two do look really fucking good in their swimsuits. And when I saw the trailer and the poster for Anyone But You, it's like, gee, why does that sound familiar?
I feel like when we did this a year ago, we were like bagging. I feel like when we did this a year ago, we were like bagging on Lionsgate. Like it had just been destroyed by Moonfall.
It really had.
It still made more money than Disney.
Well, you really say that because that's a lot of that info is hidden.
There's a lot that we don't know about Lionsgate this year.
Well, look, if you take a lot of these, how I said if it went straight to video. First of all, Lionsgate seems to be only making stuff that goes straight to video. So most of these movies that I have in yellow, they went they had a theatrical release, but it was very limited, and it was PVOD the same day. And what am I supposed to do? Not count that stuff? Lionsgate is one of those weirdo ones that I have to make special rules for. They lost money on Operation Fortune, Are You There, God, The Expendables, but between Saw and The Hunger Games, they kind of made up for it. Also, which one was it?
John Wick.
John Wick. They got saved by John Wick. So they were actually theoretically profitable at 253 million. And I want again point out that Lionsgate, barely a studio, made more money than Disney this year. A24.
Getting into the losers.
Last year made money because of Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yep.
That, and I think there might have been a handful of others that kind of pulled it over the finish line. This year they couldn't find a hit. Everything that I could find that had a budget didn't make money. And everything else was really limited releases.
Well, hang on. Here's the other thing about A24 this year. If we look at these movies, because we're in awards season, part of how a studio like A24 gets by is awards, is prestige,
right.
Yeah. hate to bear bad news for A24, but they are striking out this award season.
Well, I think they were banking a lot on the Iron Claw, Priscilla. They were banking on, I think, Beau is Afraid, and they're not.
Beau is Afraid is one that they let Ari Aster take a big ol' swing on, and
just because it's like Ari Aster may be one of the best horror directors out there, but that doesn't mean that everything he makes is gold.
Yep.
So A24 had a really great year, and then this year shit the bed. This one surprised me because most of what Amazon MGM made this year went straight to Prime. So I did not put it on the list, which meant that all they had was whatever they threw in the theaters, and the only one that made a profit was Creed. Like Air, I think they were banking on making a lot more money because it was a Ben Affleck, Matt Damon thing. It was about Nike, it was about Air Jordans, and nobody gave a shit.
Pretty sure
Mark
Boys in the Boat.
Go ahead.
So I'm just pretty sure Boys in the Boat, they're probably aiming for early 2024 awards bait audiences to make up the difference. That was released really late in the year.
Right.
Yeah.
This was another Guy Ritchie movie that shit the bed. Nobody saw it, and they
Which
were
one?
The Covenant.
Having seen The Covenant, it's actually pretty. It's not great, but it's pretty good.
Ronnie and I gave it a favorable review, but neither one of us was wowed by it.
No, and ultimately, I can see why it didn't find an audience.
Yeah. All right, so that's that one. Paramount, which last year was carried by Top Gun and then destroyed by Babylon.
Start of the year, Top Gun. End of the year, Babylon. Ooh.
That's painful.
Did not release a lot of movies this year, and it was absolutely destroyed by. Now, see, Killers of the Flower Moon again. It shared financing with Apple.
Yeah,
but I don't know how much, how profitable or not profitable it was. I can tell you right now, it had a $200 million budget, $400 million times 2. It only made 156. I mean, no matter how many ways you slice it, the fucking thing lost money to the tune of almost $250 million.
Same argument. I think that they are betting on Killers of the Flower Moon raking in the Oscar bait audience of early 2024, especially now with Lily Gladstone winning for Best Actress last night.
Well deserved, for the record. Very well deserved. So, the other thing about that again is how much of that budget was covered by Apple, because that's nothing. That's almost nothing to them.
Yeah.
Also of note here, I mentioned it already, Transformers going to have fallen short if we were to really break down where it drew the money, but it's not worth the effort here.
So theoretically, it only had 3 profitable movies: Scream, Transformers, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Not enough to save it from the amount of money it lost on
mostly because of Mission Impossible.
Well, yeah, that was another one they were banking high on. Had almost a $3 million budget. Didn't even make double that.
In fairness to Dead Reckoning, part of the reason its budget got so high was they paid everyone during the COVID shutdowns. And I'm going to take my hat off to them for that, but it does not help your bottom line.
I think they also shot Part of Part 2 at the same time. So it might be one of the situations where they, it's the budget for both movies, kind of.
It could be.
Minus.
I imagine a good chunk of it. There's a bunch of nowadays you can have shot them at the same time, but all the effects that go into the second one are also going to be separate budgetary, and that's a whole other can of fish.
So we had 4 profitable, 4 of the most profitable movies this year were Universal, a couple were Warner Brothers, 1 was Disney, and 2 were Sony, 1 was Lionsgate with John Wick. And then the rest is failure upon failure upon failure.
Or just not enough data.
2 most successful movies of the year were Super Mario Brothers and Barbie, as you can see by the orange there. And then Jesse highlighted in dark red the least profitable movies of this year.
So this is what they drew relative to their budget.
I appreciate the incentive, but again, I cannot read that.
I'm going to read it to you, baby. So snuggle in. Let me read you a bedtime story.
Sorry, next time you do that dark of a color, make the text white or something. Jesus.
The least profitable movies of 2023. Shazam! Fury of the Gods.
Yep.
It lost $116 million.
I stand by my theory about that movie script.
The Flash lost $169 million.
In actual dollars, it lost more than that, and what a terrible movie.
Blue Beetle, $110 million. Also,
Poor
another movie that was
movie.
supposed to go to Max.
Yeah, like it lost the money that it lost. It deserved this, but that movie was not designed for theatrical release, and it showed.
We gave it I'd say B- review, I think, when we basically said it wasn't great, but we couldn't find anything to really hate on it.
The Color Purple, it just came out. Maybe it makes more, maybe it makes less. But at the time of this recording, it's currently losing $145 million. I'm not going to laugh at it too hard. However, I will laugh at hard, long, vascular, Indiana Jones. And the dial of put a chicken and make it gay.
The
As
movie
long.
that I had to admit on a later date, yeah, it sucked. I don't know what I was thinking on the review.
It's all right.
200
It's okay to try and be positive on the review.
I tried so hard. I really wanted to like it.
$216 million this piece of shit lost.
At least. And in all probability, a lot more than that. But
Yeah. Speaking of movies had to be reshot.
Yep.
Haunted Mansion lost 182.5.
Oof.
The Marvels.
That was depressing. I really wanted that movie to succeed.
The Marvels. Robert Winfree's favorite movie of this year.
Oh, I wanted to die watching that. I fondly recall my suicidal ideation ticking up.
That might have lost the most money this year.
This is, I'm not kidding when I say that The Marvels is, in real dollars, one of, if not the biggest box office bombs of all time.
Well,
We're talking Waterworld bad here. Like, this is awful financially. I'm not talking about creatively.
okay,
Leave
well,
that out.
On my list, using my math, it's the worst performing movie of this year. It has lost the most money at a total of $344 million. Yo, motherfuckers get taken out in an alley and shot for stuff like that.
I genuinely
used
feel
to.
okay. I'm just gonna say this. I feel sorry for what's her name, Iman Vellani, the girl who played Kamala Khan.
Okay.
She was. I still say she was the best part of that movie. She gave it her all. She was probably the only true enjoyable part of that movie. And I do feel bad that the first time playing that character on the big screen ended up in this.
Hey,
It's not her
Well,
fault.
hang
what
on.
happened to that movie. I'm not. No
I'm
one's
saying no.
blaming
I'm
the
saying
kid.
it's not her fault, but it's one of those you feel bad to see someone go down with the sinking ship when it's not their fault. Okay.
Hey, you know what? Everyone should look at how she has handled being asked questions about that movie ever since and take lessons. That woman has handled this catastrophic bomb with more tact and dignity than anyone promoting a movie for Disney these days. Seriously.
Wish lost 190 million. Kills of the
Yep.
Flower Moon almost 250 million, but who gives a fuck?
Yeah, again, it's a rounding error for Apple. Who cares?
Yeah.
And I still stand by Oscar bait early 2024 budget makeup.
But not this one. The Expendables lost almost 150 million, Robert.
Yeah, that was just it was a bad
Why did they
read.
think anyone wanted to see Megan Fox as an action star?
Luck. Robert and I saw it, we reviewed it, and we liked the Expendables series, and Megan Fox is a hot woman. There was potential there.
Allegedly.
Most humans think Megan Fox is a hot woman. There was potential there. They just fucking fumbled the ball out of the arena.
I haven't watched Expendables movies. Oh, no, wait. I did see Expendables 3, but Expendables 2 is the only one I genuinely remember.
So, folks, that is the year in review. Don't believe the hype, though. I think this year the trades got it right. They're like, oh, for the first time in a dog's age, Universal beat Disney. Universal beat Disney last year, too, you fucking people who can't do math.
Again, Iger is slipping envelopes of money underneath their door.
It's one of those where they were just like, oh, Disney wins again on a Tuesday, in the closet behind the door that says beware the leopard.
Yeah,
all the data.
So when even the trades, which are gently treading to maintain their positive relationships and access, if the access media is even going, yeah, it wasn't great. take their reaction when it actually tips negative and amplify it by a couple of orders of magnitude, and you're close to reality.
And folks, that is our review of Rebel Moon and our year in review. We're going to take a minute just to kind of look ahead. But we're going to do this. I mean, do you want to look at our review schedule? Or do you want to look at the actual movies coming out?
Let's do actual movies for funsies.
Yeah. For what it's worth, I did make a list because I was going through the movies, but I was also counting off the reviews that we've done and the reviews that I did. I wanted to point out that while the movie industry suffered pretty bad, 2023 was a good year for TV because we got some really good stuff out this last year. Last of Us, the live action One Piece, Gen V, House of Usher, Twisted Metal. Hell, I'll even give credit to seeing Muppet Mayhem on Disney Plus. That was fun.
Oh, that was great. I enjoyed the shit out of that review. Mm-hmm. All right, so I have the Wikipedia up just for visual effects. This weekend coming up, we have The Book of Clarence, Mean Girls, The Beekeeper. We're going to do The Beekeeper because I think if I asked Robert to review Mean Girls, he'd fucking shoot me.
I mean, look,
and I tried
Mark, you can ask.
I'm not going to do that to you. I don't even want to talk about it. There was also the F. Gary movie, which I had considered, and then I remembered I like Robert. So we aren't doing that either. But it's also not a theatrical exhibition. It's a Netflix movie. The week after that is nothing. It's like
there's actually a movie coming out to Hulu this weekend that I want to see. Again, my judgment has not always been great, but I think this looks good. It's called Self-Reliance. It's Jake Johnson's directorial debut. Oh
yeah, there it is. It came out on the 3rd actually. Anna Kendrick. That's got a good cast. Anna Kendrick, Christopher Lloyd, Wayne Brady. And then there's the Book of Clarence.
Oh, it premiered in the film festival, came in one night special engagements. The streaming release on Hulu is the wide release.
Gotcha.
Okay, hang on. Before we move on, Mark, because we just touched on what's coming up this week.
Yeah.
Does any of those beat Wonka?
All right. Which week are we in? The 12th?
Whatever comes. Yeah, this next weekend, because that's what's coming
Mean
up.
Girls.
I think there's a chance Mean Girls might.
Okay.
It's got a huge following. I mean, was never a huge fan, but I fully acknowledge the Broadway show has a humongous following.
I have seen the Broadway show. It was a very well attended show. It was a very well done show. Mean Girls Alexis isn't wrong. Mean Girls has a following. It's also a musical. I have a sneaking suspicion if people know it's there, they'll go see it and it'll end up being the #1 movie of the weekend.
Okay.
It's also doing pretty well with advertising. It's the movie I've seen pushed the most recently, especially on social media platforms like TikTok and Instagram, because again, they know what audience to push to.
It's January 19th is a fucking murderer's row. Look at these studios putting out movies. Bleecker Street, Lionsgate, Quiver, DeKalb.
What's Quiver?
Yeah. UTA Independent
I've never
Film
heard
Group,
of that.
Saban, and Blue Finch Films. I'm not even reading what these movies are. Who gives a fucking shit? I mean, like, oh my god, The Wanted Man from Quiver is directed by Dolph Lundgren,
who apparently also wrote the screenplay.
That actually gives me a little bit of hope, believe it or not, for it.
Moving on, the 26th. More fuck you, it's January type stuff. Yep. Lionsgate, Amazon, Oscilloscope, IFC Films, Focus Features. Like, nah. So we don't get before
February, people start waking up.
Thank you, Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool.
So we have Argyle, that's competing with the Tigers of that's going to Paramount Plus. So we have Argyle, which is the only thing in theatrical release that matters.
That one's gonna take that weekend pretty easily.
Oh yeah,
by
a country mile.
I will say, Orion in the Dark on Netflix, I've been hearing good things about. So
the question that I think we kind of false started this. The question that we were asking ourselves when we decided we were going to do this at the end of the show is, besides Deadpool, which is a given, and Despicable Me 4, which is a given, and then I said Sonic 3, which you argued with me about, and I don't know why.
I did. A little bit.
Yeah. I'm also just feel bad that my Sonic 3 prediction for Shadow the Hedgehog has completely blown up in my face, because I predicted Chris Pratt or Chris Pine, but now they got Pratt voicing Mario, and Pine probably not going to get to do an animated feature again for a long ass time. Thank you, Wish.
Which of these movies will make the top 10? So I'm telling you, at least 3 spots go to Deadpool, Despicable Me, and Sonic. 7 more films to fill out the top 10. Argyle, yes or no?
Chance. There's a chance.
Alexis?
I agree with Robert. Chance. Matthew Vaughn does have a good track record. He does. This film has really good advertising, great cast. I think there's a
Good
slight
premise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nothing the week of the 9th is going to make the top 10.
Nope.
I did ask on the Unholy Trinity chat, Robert, if anyone was interested in Lisa Frankenstein, because did you see who's directing that?
Yeah, Zelda Williams. By the way, you know who wants to see that? My daughter.
You know who Zelda Williams is,
Yeah,
right?
that's Robin Williams' daughter.
Yeah, I am actually very intrigued.
If it's around me, yeah.
Look, I may end up going to see that, so maybe I might come on
Hey,
that too.
if you want to put that on the schedule, by all means.
I gotta look because the schedule's like pretty solid the way we have it right
It's
now.
also pretty open, so
Yeah,
I'd
it
have-
looks
I'd have
like
to
a
cut
lot of
something.
fun. It looks like one of those good horror comedies that knows not to take itself too seriously. And again, Zelda Williams as a director is someone I want to check out.
I'll look at the schedule and that's a definitely maybe. All right. Now the 14th is an interesting face-off. We have Madam
no,
Web,
it's not.
the all-girl Spider-Man movie. This is how I sold it to somebody. I was like, hey, we should go see this movie together. It's like, what is it? Like, it's girl Spider-Man. Oh, cool. And Bob
Just
Marley.
further proof they totally have no idea who the character actually
Not
is.
even a little bit. And Bob Marley, One Love, to which I say to you, do either one of these movies make the top 10?
No.
No.
Okay.
Killed with fire.
I don't know enough about Bob Marley as a musician to know if there is a big enough group of people who would want to see the biopic, but I'm taking a wild guess, especially based on the very limited marketing that it's been pushing and a lot of negative response. Again, Bob Marley is not exactly a world-renowned love name.
No,
So.
I've seen the trailer a bunch of times. I've seen some big posters at the movie theater, so they're pushing the movie. Robert,
I give credit to Kingsley Benedict.
Which is more than I've seen for Madam Web.
No,
Robert,
I was just about to say I give credit to Kingsley Benedict. He was the lead bad guy in this Secret Invasion show, which was a piece of crap, but he was good in it, and he's actually an actor I do want to see more of in the future. So.
Robert, we said Argyle's maybe, and we haven't added anything to the list. Do me a favor, keep track of how many, because we had 7 spots.
I've got a list going. We're good.
Okay. Nothing from the 16th. That's not even like a major release that weekend.
Nope.
Nothing the following weekend. Strive Away Dolls and Ordinary Angels, and nothing. So that's the end of February. We now into
February
March,
kinda
and
sucks.
Dune Part 2 absolutely makes the top 10.
Definitely. The fans are still, oh my God, how many guys on the network chat have just been fucking chomping at the bit,
All of
pissed
them.
off about this movie getting delayed?
All of them, and some of them twice. All right, so Dune, that definitely makes the list.
Yeah.
Skip a week because nothing comes out, and then everything comes out March 8th. So we've got a fist fight going between Kung Fu Panda 4, Imaginary from Lionsgate.
I am so willing to bet that the Lionsgate and Blumhouse are hoping that Imaginary can ride on some of the buzz that If and Imaginary, the John Krasinski movie, is getting. I refuse to believe that those two coming out this year is not a coincidence.
So Kung Fu Panda wins that weekend. Doesn't make it top 10.
Easily.
Kung Fu Panda has a very good track record as a film franchise. Whether you're personally high or low on different parts of it, whatever.
All 3 of the movies were exceptional. I'm not a huge fan, but I fully acknowledge credit where it's due, and all 3 movies have been really, really good.
I know we reviewed at least one of them.
I'm actually more confident in Kung Fu Panda 4 making the top 10 than I am like Sonic 3.
I'll talk to Zach about getting him on the schedule for that.
That sounds like nonsense to me, but
admittedly, I think
you are living with one of the members that is the target demographic of Sonic 3, and that's fine. But Sonic 2 underperformed, and we can't ignore that.
All right.
Sorry, go ahead.
Moving on to the week of the 22nd, we have Arthur the King from Lionsgate. My favorite movie title of 2024, The American Society of Magical Negroes, which is, I'm sure no one's going to go see because it's a focus feature. And then something from SPI International, so who gives a shit. The last weekend of March, we have Ghostbusters and Mickey 17. All right, Alexis, tell me all the ways Ghostbusters Frozen Empire makes a top 10.
It definitely will. Okay, Robert says no. Put it down. This is the one we're disagreeing on.
I'll put a question mark by this one, but I'm not. Look, a lot of people had a lot of nice feelings about the reboot one from 2 years ago or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't remember. Hey, I understand it was at the end of like 2021, yada yada yada. It didn't do that well.
It did, and that's why I'm saying I don't think this one makes the top 10.
Like, I think by comparison for other movies that came out that year, all things considered, it did well, and it did well critically. People enjoyed it. People, liked the nostalgia, which I desperately made fun of, if you'll remember. But I don't think the money's there like they think it is.
I will say Mickey 17 is getting a lot. It's hilarious. This is a movie that has had it's got a teaser, but it reveals no details. We know nothing about it, but it's a Bong Joon-ho
movie.
Exactly. And
Nice.
That automatically means every critic wants to see it.
All right. April 5th, we've got The First Omen from Disney under the 20th Century Studios. I haven't mentioned that before. That 20th Century Studios is carrying the year.
I haven't even heard of The First Omen. Oh, wait, yes, I did. I got a trailer released just a few days ago.
Then we have
incredibly cliche.
We have a Roadside Attractions, which their movies make no money, which is why I didn't include them in the studio list. And then The People's Joker, which I want to see now that I know what it is, but I'm not going to subject anyone else to that.
What is it? I don't know what it is.
Oh, Robert, my love.
Don't click on it.
But The Joker, since you asked, is an American queer coming-of-age parody superhero film directed by Vera Drew. How are we not reviewing this?
Because you want the podcast to continue.
Moving on.
Force Robert to do that, and he will appear on screen with his head in a noose saying, just give me an excuse, Mark.
All right, Godzilla.
I will start the stream, let it get going, and then self-annihilate on camera to just really screw everyone over.
Godzilla multiplied by Kong, the new empire.
I don't know about this one.
Don't worry. Feminist pink Godzilla can't hurt you.
Thank you. It was funny the first 10 times you said it.
Here's my thing about this one.
Hang on. I want to discuss this real quick.
All right.
So Kong versus Godzilla comes at the end of a fair to Midland MonsterVerse run in the middle of at the tail end of the COVID lockdowns and the theaters reopening, and it was day and date on Max.
And again, plenty of qualifiers there. And I'm not saying those aren't to be taken seriously.
That's why I threw them out there because I feel like there might be an appetite for this.
I'm not saying that this is going to bomb. Well, let me be very clear. We're not saying is this going to be profitable or not. Like, is this one of the 10 highest grossing films of all year, though? I'm going to say no.
I think I don't top think 10.
Top 15, definitely.
I think this is a $500 million movie. I think the appetite's there. And I think now that you don't have all of those qualifiers, I think the audience comes out for this, but they've got to do a better job of marketing it. Because right now, because I chided Alexis for the same joke, but she does have a point. Pink Godzilla probably ran some people off. They have to do a better trailer.
That's the other thing. Like, this trailer came out and there was a lot of negative reaction to it. And not even the knee jerk, like, Pink Godzilla stuff, which I think is stupid, but whatever. That trailer was not well received. And that's not the end of the world, but it ain't good. So
I don't even know what this is. It's still going under Untitled Universal Monster Film, which we're in January, people. Title your fucking movie.
I'm intrigued because I do love the Universal Monsters, but the last time we got Universal Monsters movies was the Dark Universe, and Lord
Yes, that went
knows
so
that
well.
was traumatizing enough.
Yep, the movie that nearly killed Tom Cruise's career until Top Gun Maverick.
Not kidding.
April 26th is an interesting group of films. We have Civil War from A24, which if it's depending on the marketing, people might go see that. Challengers.
Hey, hang on. You know what? Having seen the trailer for Civil War, this is just God's Not Dead for liberals.
Speaking of God's Not Dead for liberals, for all of you, pansexual poly people out there, Challengers, starring Zendaya. How are we not reviewing this, Robert?
Mark?
Yes? Moving on.
You know why. Don't tempt me.
All right.
One of these days, you know what? One of these days, one of these terrible ideas that you like to tease me about, I'm going to say yes to, just so you have to actually see the resulting carnage.
I'll be like a dog chasing a car. I won't know what to do with it.
Yes, that's the point. I will go watch that movie. I will watch it seriously. I will come back to discuss it seriously, and you will look around the shattered remains around you and go, "Oh dear God, what hath I wrought?"
I swear to God, if you weren't already fucking like teasing me about it, I would half expect you to put Challengers on the list. Do it, Challengers. Let's talk about fucking polysexual fucking Zendaya. And I honestly will sit here quiet as a mouse, I've been domed. I don't even know what to say.
So weekend after that, The Fall Guy, I actually think may be it might actually be one of those films that creeps its way into the list.
Oh, The Fall Guy is kicking off the summer, and it's already looking like the feel-good action comedy of the year.
Well, it's also David Leitch, who, again, really great director, not just responsible for the first two Deadpools, but also did Bullet Train, which we all loved.
Yeah.
So good director, good cast.
So, yes or no? No movies making the top 10 since Godzilla versus Kong by our count.
Which is a giant maybe.
So Fall Guy, yes or no?
Yeah, I'll say
I
yes.
think it could.
I think if it gets good buzz, if it gets good word of mouth.
There's qualifiers there. That's a movie that has to actually be good.
Yeah.
But I would give that a more optimistic yes than Godzilla, personally.
Definitely.
Right. Nothing the second week of May.
Nope.
Then we get to May 17th, and we have If from Paramount, directed by John Krasinski.
I want If to do so well, not only because I've loved Krasinski's films so far, but we were talking on the chat about how this is 2024 is a year of sequels and reboots and everything. I think on that whole list, If and Argyle were the only two movies that were coming from original ideas. Those were the only ones not coming from a previously established IP. So I want If to do well.
And it's going up against Rennie Harlin's The Strangers Chapter 1 from Lionsgate.
Hang on.
Rennie Harlin's still directing?
God help us, yes. Here's my thing on If. Kid movies and family-friendly stuff is actually going to be a kind of a premium this year. It's not non-existent, but it's not every week. If has an outside shot, but my hunch is no.
All right. Now, here is where we have our first battle for supremacy. If Furiosa,
what a three-way do we have?
That is one hell of an interesting.
And yet again, I'm in a three-way I didn't want to be in. A Furiosa Mad Max saga, directed by George Miller. Garfield, directed by Mark Dindal, starring Chris Pratt. And Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, because we didn't say enough with the first three fucking movies. We have to keep doing these.
Mark, you want to know, you want the ugly truth about the Planet of the Apes franchise? And I mean, this is, when I say ugly, I mean you are not going to like the reality that this brings up, but we speak the truth here, right?
Mm-hmm.
That entire franchise, including the stuff with Charlton Heston, right? 9 movie franchise. You want to know how many bad movies that franchise has produced?
A lot.
1.
The Tim
There's
Burton one?
only what?
Tim Burton one?
That doesn't count.
don't
That is
count that.
not the same franchise. That was
Okay.
a reimagining that was supposed to start up another franchise, to
Right.
reboot the franchise.
If you wish to include Tim Burton's, there's 2. That's it. This is a shockingly, consistently entertaining film franchise. I can't explain it. Don't know why. Don't know how. But I talked about one of my brothers with this because he hadn't seen the original series. And I went, well, the first one's a classic. Sequel's actually pretty darn good. And believe it or not, that third one really holds up. There's some execution issue, but the story is very good. The fourth is wobbly, but still, I think falls on the fair side. The fifth one of the original run is the only one of those that's not good. And the reimagined trilogy is like, you and I have done nothing but sing its praises apart from the first one because James Franco sucks.
Yeah, we didn't talk about the first one other than in retrospect, but we
Okay,
reviewed the other two.
that first one, James Franco sucks, but everything that Andy Serkis brought to the table was amazing.
He should have won an Oscar for one
I
of
also
those.
don't think that assessment of James Franco is fair, but let's move on. So my question is,
tell that to everyone who Me Too'd him.
Okay, well, I'm only going on the deuce.
News is he's a human garbage pile. I don't like him because I don't like his movies.
So he is a human garbage pile.
My question is,
fucking
who wins that
groomer.
weekend? Furiosa, Garfield, or Kingdom of the Planet? These, if not all three, make the top 10.
All 3 of these could. Let me start there.
Put a gun to my head, force me to choose one. I would say Furiosa has the potential to win that weekend.
I'm actually going to lean more towards Garfield here is excellent counter programming. Garfield is going to live and die actually by how If does, which is like a week or two, like the week earlier. Because if struggles, Garfield's going to scoop up that market, and Furiosa and Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes are going to split the remaining.
Here's my
audience.
issue with that whole weekend. Never mind the Garfield movie. It'll be what it'll be. It's the end of school in most cases, at least in half the country. I think Garfield will be fine. I'm not sure how much Garfield really resonates with modern audiences, but I'm not sure how anything resonates with modern audiences these days. So.
Actually, I should ask Mark. I know that we're going to do a Damn You Hollywood on either Furiosa or Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Do you want Zach and me to do a separate one on Garfield?
If you want, and the answer is we're doing both of those. I'm just separating them a week. First
Okay.
Furiosa, and then Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, because
there's nothing the next week.
Yeah, well, not only that, but the week after that, there's also still nothing because I'm not fucking dealing with Ballerina. I can't with the fucking John Wick spinoff. And then we have, because if you didn't like M. Night Shyamalan, you'll love his daughter, Ishana Night Shyamalan.
Oh my God, I didn't even look closely enough. I thought that was M. Night. I was like, wait, that's not M. Night. Oh, dear God, he's breeding.
Yeah,
Okay,
so neither.
So hang on. Between the 3 of us, of those 3, are we saying any of those hit the top 10?
Which are we back to Furiosa? Oh, well, my point that I was getting to was it's been 1,000 years since Fury Road.
Certainly
And-
in COVID years, it's been 1,000.
Yeah, but it was 1,000 years between Mad Max Thunderdome and Fury Road.
Okay, stop. That's false equivalency, and I'll tell you why. Fury Road was fucking awesome. Fury Road got by on word of mouth and how amazing it was. It was like one of those, and I'll tell you, I was the guy on the podcast who really didn't sing his praises. That was Robert dragging me, kicking and screaming.
Yep.
But I'm not gonna. But I can't knock the hustle, and I can't fight, and I can't fight the feeling anymore. Every dude, bro, that went to the movies fucking sang Fury Road's praises. Like that movie combined the dumbest and the smartest audiences.
The smartest.
Like that's the brilliance of Fury Road. If you're a moron, it's entertaining. If you want to like watch and dissect and understand film and narrative and how to deliver exposition without having a character stare into the screen and tell you their story just so you know it, brilliant. Like there is something in that movie for everyone.
Yeah, Fury Road was one of the great film unifiers of its year. It was 1,000 years ago, though, and I'm not sure the audience is there for it anymore. I feel like when they initially had this idea, had it come out 2018, 2019, maybe? It's 2020 fucking 4. That thing came out in 2015. I'm not sold the audience is showing up for this.
So okay,
I still
so
love
are
all
we
the
saying?
meninists who are complaining about it. It's just like, my God, are you people that scared of ovaries?
First of all, yes, they don't know how they work, and what they don't understand scares them. I've said before, like I get a problem with throwing Mad Max's name on there when Mad Max is not going to appear. That's an issue I have with marketing. I think it'll be fine. I'm kind of with you though. Like I'm not sure it hits, call it the $500 to $600 million mark. That is probably necessary.
And in the Planet of the Apes movies, this last series, none of them were moneymakers. They did
That's
okay.
not true.
No.
They weren't. Hang on, they weren't $1 billion, but they were all profitable.
Profitable, yes, but they weren't. I think part of it is, well, they have the IP, so they're going to do something with it. Disney does, but these were not bank breakers. Like they're $300 to $400 million at best, if I remember correctly. But let's move on.
So ultimately the question is Garfield. Do we think Garfield makes the top 10?
No.
No.
Okay, so we're leaving that one set. Okay.
Ballerina and the Watchers. No.
Mm,
I don't even want to review Ballerina. I don't think I have it on the list this year because I can't deal
I
with
don't
the
think
fucking
you
John
do
Wick
either.
spinoff.
Well, considering that you said that you're going to do both Furiosa and
Yeah,
so at least then that leaves an open week for you.
that was the idea. Inside Out 2. Lexus, do you think the sequel to a 2015 movie that Pixar did those many years ago, do you think it cracks the top 10?
It better. Disney is hedging all their bets on this until the next Frozen movie comes out.
I was going to say, other than stuff from 20th Century Fox, you realize it's the only Disney movie, that and the Lion King thing, that at the end of the year.
Oh
the only
God, that that Mufasa prequel. Again,
and it's going up against Bad Boys 4.
First of all, Inside Out does win that weekend. Secondly, I wanted to break the top 10. Inside Out is one of the best Pixar films easily. I thought it was brilliant. And it's hilarious that it's taken them so long because that movie was just screaming for a sequel. They freaking set it up at the end. So it's like, well, about freaking time you guys baited us. I actually like how they're doing the marketing, that the idea that it's going to be multiple new emotions and we don't know which ones yet. I think that's a very clever idea. We don't even know all of the voice actors are going to be voicing. The ones you got listed right there are the only ones we've had confirmed and on screen in the trailer. Maya Hawke is voicing Anxiety. Good on her. So yeah, right. I wanted to. I really do.
The Bike Riders got kicked out of 2023 into 2024.
Okay, hang on. I'm gonna say Inside Out 2 probably does. I don't think it's $1 billion.
Yeah.
But I think Elemental did enough repair work that going to a sequel of something that everyone did like, and if they market it properly, and I don't just mean like the trailers, I mean if the relevant people are saying the right things in public, it'll help.
Can we also all breathe a sigh of relief that they replaced Mindy Kaling?
Yes.
I would rather she was replaced with her oxygen consumption by somebody else.
A Quiet Place Day 1.
No. I like that franchise. I like the idea of this movie. I'm on board. I don't think it's a top 10 movie at the end of the day.
I think without Krasinski working there, it's not going to do as well. I think he was the one that kept it alive.
All right. Despicable Me, we already said was in the top 10.
Probably.
I don't know what this Greg Berlanti fucking Project Optimus movie is, but it may not make it the top 10. So the next one we have is Twisters from Universal.
No.
Who the hell thought that deserved a sequel?
I don't know what drugs they were doing at Universal when they were just like, we haven't seen it in a while. Fucking Twister. Why?
That first movie is okay, I admit liking that movie when it first came out, but I think I was just dazzled by the special effects. But now it's just hilarious how apparently global warming hit 30 years early, because how the hell could there be that many tornadoes?
And they don't even have Helen Hunt back to this. Fuck this movie. I mean, it's on my list, but whatever. I've already said Deadpool 3 is going to end up being probably the number one movie.
Much as I really... Okay. Here's my Schadenfreude. I want that. I want Deadpool to crash and burn. I
It
really
won't.
do.
You're
It
psyched.
won't.
That is your Schadenfreude.
It won't, but I want. And I'm
Okay.
allowed to say that I want.
You can want and shit in the bush. It doesn't really matter.
I'm aware.
All right,
Okay.
how
I haven't heard anything about Harold and the Purple Crown, but God, that is such a beloved franchise. I would
you know how
love
many times
to
that's
see
been
that do well.
delayed now? That's been delayed like 3 times.
I believe it.
Not making the top 10. Nothing M. Night Shyamalan does anymore makes the top 10. So let's move on.
Oh God, he and his daughter are both getting movies out in the same year.
Yep. All right,
Ugh,
and then
that's going to be an awkward Thanksgiving.
So we have an interesting one for August 9th. We have Borderlands by Eli Roth, Speak No Evil from Universal, and Flint Strong from MGM Amazon. I don't know. Maybe the Borderlands one, but that is a tight.
Is that
one.
actually an adaptation of the game?
Yes.
Okay.
Borderlands doing it would not shock me, but I'm not gonna predict it.
Yeah.
Good cast.
That's what I'm saying,
Look,
like,
there's a lot going for it. It's just
that is Lionsgate's John fucking Wick for that year, but or Hunger Games. Like that's a big money mover for Lionsgate. I don't know. I have to see what the buzz looks like when we get a little bit closer. All right, Robert, does Alien Romulus from 20th Century Studios make the top 10?
no.
Kraven
I
the
don't know. Is
Hunter.
it any more memorable than Alien Covenant? That is literally a movie I forgot I saw.
right.
Let me tell you something about Ridley Scott. That man turned back into a pumpkin 10 years ago, and he just hasn't figured it out yet. No.
Okay, Kraven the
Does he
Hunter.
have anything to do with Alien
We are
Romulus?
so
I didn't
close
see
to
his
the end of
name
this
on there.
bit and ending the show.
He's involved in it. I don't know exactly how, but I know he's involved in it. Oh, and Kraven the Hunter can just die in a ditch somewhere. No.
Kraven the Hunter, yes or no?
I'm only hoping that it's a little bit better than Madame Web because it looks like they at least have a smidgen of an idea of what that character is, as opposed to Madame Web, which I am saying, sweet Jesus, it's the Cassandra Cain syndrome all over again.
Madam
I'm
Web looks like
hoping-
a CW show that they bought and turned into a movie. Just
I'm
no.
hoping I get hospitalized and I don't have to do Beetlejuice 2.
That's not making the top 10.
I hope
Sorry.
not.
I can
I
run
love
that
Michael
show for
Keaton.
you, Mark, if you don't want to see it.
Don't. I told you don't make those offers for me. I'll suffer, but I don't want to see this. Ugh.
That's why.
Um,
Look, okay. It pisses me off that it's Beetlejuice 2 because before they had confirmed anything, I was genuinely hoping they were just going to do a film adaptation of the musical, which I think could be good.
Sure.
I'll just get Alex Brightman on. Actually, I made an argument at a party. I said Alex Brightman, or it's going to sound crazy, but the only other actor I could see playing Beetlejuice if they did the musical, Jack Black.
I'm with you on the idea that if they were doing an adaptation of the musical like they do with other movies, at least fine, sure. A sequel to a movie from 100 years ago by Hollywood's greatest monster, Tim Burton.
Third greatest monster.
I mean, I'm looking at the cast and I'm like, oh, Monica Bellucci's tits. Well, all right, that's one thing, but that's the only thing that and I know my kids are going to want to go see this because my kids love the Beetlejuice. So
Okay, hang on. 2 things. One, Monica Bellucci is actually a very good actress. How dare you reduce someone to purely their physical attributes? You
she is
hormonal
hot as
vagrant.
fuck, and I can't wait to see her in this thing.
You're a hormonal vagrant. You understand this.
Yes.
Second, I wish nothing but good things for Michael Keaton.
It's fair.
Can you guys keep going for a second without me? My dogs are going ballistic if I don't feed them.
All right, we have an animated Transformers movie.
No. No.
Something called Woofs from Sony. Director John Watts.
Nope.
Another Saw.
Maybe. Probably not.
All
Or
right.
maybe.
From 100 years ago, a sequel
Oh,
to the $1 billion
speaking of-
Joker movie with Harley fucking Quinn, played by Lady Gaga.
All right. We're getting to the point in the year where we're speculating because we don't know anything about some of these.
Mm-hmm.
Like a bunch of the stuff we've already seen, we have trailers for. We have
Yeah.
stuff like that. I'm going to hesitantly say yes.
The Joker thing spoke to that fucking neckbeard demographic, though, and this one I don't think is going to.
Again, if I don't not having a trailer is what hurts this. Like after I saw the first Joker trailer, like you and I both went, okay, but we didn't say billion, but we went, this is going to do well.
Yeah.
It's looking at all just kind of the intangibles that went into it. And the fact that a bunch of busybodies decided to spin up controversy around this, like it's unethical to release this movie. You're going to cause shootings. Like get bent, go touch grass.
Yeah.
Like, do something with your life rather than be terminally online, you loser.
Did I miss anything?
Not really.
Talking about Joker, and my whole thing was like that first one makes $1 billion because at the time everything was making $1 billion, and it spoke to the neckbeards, and the neckbeards came out in force and was like, why doesn't anyone love us? Yay, Joker.
Well,
Fine. The second one doesn't really have that kind of momentum.
I'm willing to say it makes the top 10. I'm not saying $1 billion.
It's fair.
And let me put a big caveat here. Again, we don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
Absent stuff that I can actually sort of dissect and look into, we're kind of shooting blind here.
We've only seen a couple of photos released. That's it.
Yeah,
A few behind the scenes shots.
I don't have a lot of faith in this movie, but whether or not it makes the top 10, I'm willing to go along with. How many do we have in the top 10 at this point?
Well, let me see. We've got currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 3 maybes. So
Smile 2, no. Venom 3, maybe.
No.
Nothing so?
Wait, Leigh Whannell is doing a Wolfman adaptation?
Yep.
Looking forward to. Don't think it'll make the top 10.
Won't make the top 10, but Leigh Whannell, I'm intrigued.
Gladiator 2. I don't know why they're doing this, let alone
see previous discussion of Ridley Scott having turned back into a pumpkin.
All right, Wicked Part 1, I absolutely think makes the top 10. When the marketing gets going on this,
but it will.
Between the marketing on this, it being wicked, it being a musical, I think this knocks it out the box.
Be warned, boys. We have to deal with Ariana Grande playing Glinda.
This Lord of the Rings animated film, I don't think makes the top 10. Karate Kid, I don't think makes the top 10, and I'm sad they're doing this. Mufasa the Lion King, the only Walt Disney proper movie this year.
Nope.
Nah.
Seth Rogen's in it. So wait, Mufasa knew Pumbaa what? Billy Eichner and Seth Rogen. They're saying Mufasa knew Timon and Pumbaa before.
This is how. Don't you know how these things work? Of course he did. He knew everybody.
Yeah, they're doing it. What was the line someone said? Bordering on the level of coincidence normally say for the later Harry Potter novels.
Not wrong.
All right, and then I already said Sonic 3. Does Nosferatu make the top 10?
I would love it because I love Robert Eggers. Or is it Robert or Roger Eggers? I can never remember. Thank you.
Robert. So having gone over that dumpster fire of a release schedule, I would love to be up here and say I'm not sure about Sonic, I'm not sure about a bunch of these, but that year is so barren. Dude, you got hang on. You got into the top.
Before you continue, I have to say this. This started out as I was going to see a bunch of movies. I might as well talk about them with people. Used to be Jeff. Then Pat and I got in a fight, and you were there to moderate that fight, and then we just never stopped doing it.
I refereed and then got pulled into the other corner. And
yeah. And it just became well, I'm seeing a bunch of these, but I like talking about it with you. But the point that I'm trying to make is this. Until this year, until the year of our Lord 2024, this show was the byproduct of my need to go see the newest movie in theater. This will be the first year that this show is moving on its own inertia, that I just like doing the show with my friends. I don't give a fuck about these movies. If this were down to, I'm already going to the movies, like I might as well talk about it, we would be doing we'd be doing 3 fucking shows this year.
We'd be doing somewhere between 3 and 11, probably less than 10.
Yeah. There was a period where we didn't do Damn You Hollywood until like March. And then we just wanted to go weekly because we like doing the show and we found stuff to talk about. But there was also a handful of things to talk about. for that period of time. And like we're right back to where we started, where like it's funny because we did, this was a 2023 holdover. In a week or two, we have the Iron Claw and Ferrari, and those are 2023 holdovers. We have one Damn You Hollywood of a new movie in January.
Yep.
And February is not much better.
Nope.
I think the schedule goes, we have The Beekeeper, and then we have then we're taking a week off. It's even better. And then we're taking another week off, but we're doing a different kind of show. We're doing a triple feature for some of the Oscar movies. Past Lives, Maestro in May, December.
Right.
We have Argyle. Yeah, then the Iron Claw and Ferrari, and then Madam Web. So 2 movies in the month of February that are actually in the month of February. We have our Best Pictures.
And I have lobbied as hard as I possibly could to get out of Madam Web.
Haven't we all?
I gave you out.
Short of not showing up, I've done everything I can.
And then we have our, the Best Picture show in February. March, we have Dune. Then we have Nothing. Fuck. And then Nothing. And then Ghostbusters.
So for a few of these, we will probably find stuff to do. We're also assuming a lot of this is still kind of going to get moved around because.
Oh, I have stuff. I just don't have Damn You Hollywood.
Yeah. I'm just. So here's my. So let me position the follow. Let me posit the following question. So 2023, number 10 at 474 some odd $1 million, 476 I think was Ant-Man and the Wasp and the Fentanyl Corpse. I'm going to set the over-under to get into the top 10 for 2024, Mark. I'm going to set it at $430 million.
That's fair.
The question for you and everyone listening, do you think I'm wrong? Oh,
no.
And over or under? So I'm basically positing number 10. When the year of our Lord 2024 is all said and done, the number 10 movie in the world will be at $430 million, right around that area.
Yeah.
Should we get this written down somewhere?
And we'll keep track of it.
All right.
So,
Well,
okay.
all right.
Do you want to take the under? Hang on. So that's where I'm setting it. Do you want under or over?
Well, I think what is it? Ant-Man is 470, and then
470
Wonka's
something.
460 right now.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there,
So
plus or minus.
So I'm saying that.
And you're thinking it's going to be lower than that.
Yes. So,
I mean, I'm going to take the over, but only slightly because I think it's going to be about where Ant-Man is.
It doesn't. Okay, so you think that, so again, you're taking the over, probably holding around the 470 mark.
Yeah.
Okay. There's nothing on this. That's just what I'm setting it for the sake of conversation.
I'm sure you'll remember as the year goes on. All right, folks.
Hey, again, when you set the over/under, it's to move odds. Like it's to incentivize betting.
Right. That is the end of our review tonight.
Speaking of gambling, Mark, how's your latest addiction going?
Not well. I'm about to take a break, or I'm going to not have any money. So
you skipped so many steps in the addiction process there.
I really did. I went rapid fire. Tomorrow is the Metal Hammer of Doom 2023 year in review, and it will not be over 3 hours. I'm going to be on the Movies That Don't Suck and Some That Do podcast, and if you know, so I'll be going over my list yet again, but I'll also be talking about my top 5 worst movies. Hint, they were almost all Disney. And then Thursday,
hang on, you have to tell me. You do not right now, but you have to tell me what your 5 worst were.
I've already shared it in the group chat, but sure. Thursday, Pat's coming on to do a triple feature of Punisher movies. We're going to look at the Dolph Lundgren, the Thomas Jane, and the Ray Stevens movie. Next week, we've got No Bananas. We've got Damn You Hollywood back on its normal time, normal beat. We're looking at Jason Statham's The Beekeeper.
Hooray for apiary.
David and I will be talking Lower Deck Season 3. And Chris Bailey making his return to the podcast. We're doing a Long Road to Ruin for the 2 Flintstones movies.
Where did you dredge him up from?
Where'd you dredge those movies up from?
It was that conversation I was having with Evan that was for no good reason public, where we're discussing like what shows we could do together. And I think I threw out as like comic book adaptations, the Flintstones, and fucking Chris Bailey came in from fucking nowhere. Just like shot down like Sting from the rafters. And he
I was
like,
gonna say, and it's Bailey with the chair.
yeah, it was Bailey. It was like, oh my God, it's Bailey! It's Bailey! And, and he took off his mask and he hit, Alexis over the head with a bat. And he was like, we're talking Flintstones, motherfucker. And I'm like, all right, take it easy. Your wife let you podcast? He was like, yes.
You two are going to spend half of that movie just talking about 90s Halle Berry, aren't you?
I hope. And Monica Bellucci's tits. All right.
She's not in that movie.
Speaking of Monica Bellucci's tits, what do you got going on, Alexis?
All right. As far as TV party tonight, coming up first, we're going to be looking at the new Marvel series Echo. As soon as I can find some freaking collaborators for it, because nobody wants to come in on that show.
When?
Mark, do you
January
have
17th.
Thank you.
Hang on.
No, seriously, I've been asking, and everyone's like, "Nah, I don't want to." It's just
I
like,
currently
okay,
don't have plans that night. If I can get the show watched, I might come on.
If my remembering of my other schedule for Wednesdays is correct, I will be free. Pencil me in and then confirm with me before it happens. So confirm with me again next week. But
you got it.
If you can't find anybody else, I will go drag that thing over the coals if it deserves it, because I want it to not suck. And if it does, it means I have no hope for Daredevil.
Somebody was telling me that it's not as bad as the Marvel shows have been recently. Like,
that's a low.
They did a retooling when everything hit the shitter, and this was part of the retooling. So I'm almost willing to give it a chance. Almost.
I'm interested to see it. I want to see, especially since it is bringing back Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin, who is always a lot of fun to watch on screen.
Hopefully they're able to change him from the buffoon he was in Hawkeye to
what else you got,
that
Alexis?
character.
Okay, so we got that. We're looking at Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Jason Teasley is going to be joining me for that. He seems to be actually really excited for that. We're going to have fun. Waiting to hear back from Vincent Van Spock. We had originally put it on the schedule because I had been misinformed and was originally told it was all dropping at once. So I put it on the schedule and then realized, oh shit, it's not even like halfway done yet. So waiting to hear if Mr. Van Spock's schedule is free, because he doesn't get the schedule that quick in advance. After which will be Has Been Hotel, which you heard me talking to David about. He and Jesse Starcher will be joining me to talk about that. We had previously talked about the creator's other web series, Hell of a Boss. So we're really excited to be talking about that. I think that's all I've got on the schedule right at the moment. I sent you a list of shows coming out for 2024. The problem is that I think like majority of them, they have not released their episode date list yet.
Yeah,
so I
went
can't schedule anything yet.
A lot of stuff is like pending.
Yeah, it's like we're getting House of the Dragon season 2. Obviously, I'll be interviewing that. We're getting Resident Alien season 3. Obviously, you and I will be reviewing that because we've done the previous ones. But
Mark, you're a completionist. Don't pretend you're not.
Hey, Resident Alien's a great show. We love talking about it. We have fun. Run, you magnificent two-legged bastard!
No, look, you got to read Mark's face. It's okay.
All right, we are like 3 hours and 30 fucking minutes here, which is fine. But
hey, this is our Martin. Hey, look, we're directed by Martin Scorsese tonight. Don't worry.
Oh, wonderful! We went to the time dilation.
Okay, fine. Then that means that we all need to get the hell out of here, or our bladders are about to burst. Let's move it on. Oh, I probably should actually do my own plugs. Wow, I wanted to be so snarky. I forgot I own a company. Honeysuckle Rose Creation.
You are not alone in that sentiment cropping up on occasion.
Our fashion meets fandom at the intersection of geek and chic. We're in our off season right now. We're not going to be starting conventions again until March. We just wrapped up all of our holiday sales. So I am using this time to restock, keep our stores fully stocked. I got our handmade at Amazon shop up here. If you know someone who is interested in fun, cool, handmade, geeky accessories, come check our stuff out. We love making all of these products. We have so much fun. doing it, and I am looking forward to our to our return to the convention circuit. I can't remember if Planet Comic Con or LPL Con is first, but I do know that Planet Comic Con is having a Scream reunion with Matthew Lillard, Skeet Ulrich, Jamie Kennedy, and Nev Campbell. So if you are a horror
Guess which two are
aficionado,
currently homeless.
ouch. If you are a
I
horror
have issues with
aficionado,
Jamie
be sure to
Kennedy,
come
and I
out.
will not apologize for them.
Be sure to come out to the Midwest and check it out. And as you can tell, we're big horror aficionados ourselves. We've got tons of horror-themed jewelry, and we will be coming up with even more over the next 2 months to sell at Planet Comic Con. So be sure to check that out. And as you can see, we are on Handmade at Amazon. We also have a shop on Etsy, and you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Fuck you, Elon Musk. I'm not calling it X. And on TikTok. I am still straining to do at least 10 videos a week so I can try to become something even remotely resembling viral.
I
It's
like what you
really
did with
hard.
the Darkwing Duck one. That was fun.
Which one?
The Darkwing Duck one. That was a fun one you did.
Oh, the Darkwing Duck. Oh, the video. I thought I was like, did I show the Darkwing Duck bracelet? No. Yeah. For the record, the Darkwing Duck comic is a lot of fun. It's really good. That reminds me, Jesse said I can pick a source material to do, and I'm currently torn if we're going to do that Snagglepuss comic that I showed you guys the picture of, or Spider-Punk.
We've already done Snagglepuss.
You guys did? Wait, you guys reviewed Snagglepuss already?
The one where he's a gothic writer in like the 60s? Yes.
No, the one where he's running for U.S. government. The one that won the GLAAD awards.
They made another Snagglepuss?
The one that actually made him gay.
Yeah.
There's another Snagglepuss comic?
It's a full-length graphic novel. I picked it up.
So was the other one. My point is, I didn't realize there were two of these, because there's one where he's like a gothic writer, and Huckleberry Hound like commits suicide. It's great.
I haven't had a chance to crack it open yet because I've been reading. I had to do a little catching up because it turns out the comic shop had forgotten to put in a few issues of Gargoyles and Darkwing Duck. They finally got those to me, so now I can do my catch-up reading. And once all that's done, then I'll read Snagglepuss. But it sounds like I may have to just go ahead and pick Spider-Punk. But I'm looking forward to that. That's the one that has a female Daredevil.
Is it called Exit Stage Left the Snagglepuss Chronicles?
Hang on a second.
From 2018.
Hang on.
Because if it's that one, we did that one already. Robert.
Exit Stage Left. Yep, that's the one.
Beat you to it, baby.
All right, fine. Spider-Punk. Okay, actually, then it's either Spider-Punk or it's the Booster Gold Blue Beetle piece. Because I always love me some Booster Gold.
Ah, come on. You can always talk about gay Snagglepuss again and just make... That was... Watching the chat explode when you guys were talking about that was the funniest thing.
Yeah, that was source material 186 from 5 years ago. Yeah, I think that was one of the ones where Ronnie was fucking done with me.
Okay, in all fairness, I may have misunderstood. Jesse said it was a great read. I figured he had read it before, but I may have misunderstood him, and he may have been saying you guys already reviewed it.
Oh, yeah.
Never mind, like I said, Booster Gold, Blue Beetle, or Spider-Punk.
Go with Spider-Punk. That's my recommendation.
Like I said, it's awesome.
Robert, sir. Go. Show us where you pissed from.
All right, well... The 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast is back. I recorded the first one of 2024 yesterday. Previewing UFC on ESPN Plus 92. I am also keeping track of my predictions this year. I have a spreadsheet and everything. I'm fancy. So I can find out whether or not I'm better than flipping a coin at the end of the year. And then for 2025, I might actually go head-to-head with a coin flip. And we'll just see how that plays out. It'll be funny. So you can listen to that. I talk a little bit. Naturally, Dana White waited until 20 minutes after I was done recording to drop new fight announcements because, of course. So that'll be on the discussion next week. This week in my coverage, if MLW's back to weekly stuff on Thursday, I'll be covering that. If not, I won't. They had an event on Saturday, so... In theory, they've taped stuff for a couple of weeks of Fusion. We'll find out. My hunch is yes. Dude, much as I rag on MLW, the fact that Satoshi Kojima came back to their last event and got showered with bread just made me happy. Then this time around, he came out with a bag of bagels, like a big, like brown bag of bagels, and just threw them to the crowd and was so happy. And if you don't understand professional wrestling lore and Kojima's relationship to bread and bagels, then I can't help you. It's too weird to explain. But if you do understand it, it's heartwarming. So if MLW has something, I'll be reviewing that and probably burying it because their weekly product is not that great. WWE SmackDown on Friday. They started off 2024 with a pretty darn good event this last week. And hopefully they can continue that momentum. Then the UFC event on Saturday. And yeah, that's kind of how the cookie crumbles. That's how the gears turn for my pathetic life. And we will be back here. Beekeeper next week, right?
Beekeeper.
Yep. So
Mark
and I will be discussing apiary and all the lovely stuff associated therewith.
For what it's worth, also shout out to the 3 people who are still watching.
It's like we've had an audience this entire fucking almost 4-hour show. Thanks, fucking dedicated people, man. No, I greatly appreciate it, but for those people and for the people who almost made it this long, let's get the fuck out of here. For Robert Winfree, for Alexis Hejna, and for David Wright, who went back to his home planet. Be well, be safe, and behave.